Hello, Globebusters. Yes, of course they're serious. You do? You have? No kidding. Uh-huh. Oh, they'll cure your globitis this week. Thank you. We got one!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Globebusters.
What are you supposed to be, some kind of a cosmonaut?
No, we're exterminators.
And now, here's your host.
And welcome everybody to Globebusters, Spacecraft Are Fake. I am your host, Bob Xanadude60, and we are back with another Sunday show for you today. And today we're going to be talking about, well, something obviously that we've talked about before, because, you know, let's get real here. After 6 years, there isn't much we have not covered when dealing with NASA and space fakery and the impossible cosmology they teach us and all that. But today we're going to be kind of focusing down on the structural impossibilities of vehicles in space. And, you know, this is a really, really easy one, guys, because NASA gives us all the evidence in the world that we need for us to debunk them, point blank. There are facilities here on the ground which are essentially, you know, not even remotely close to what is required or what is actually said to be going on in space. There's no comparison in the two structurally. And when you look at how spacecraft, so-called spacecraft, are built, especially when you look at things like the lunar lander, you know, where it's basically a few layers of aluminum foil with a little bit of tin foil and some mylar and, you know, it just ridiculous stuff. And then you compare it to, for real world test facilities like the Sandusky test facility, you know, which requires 8-foot thick concrete and steel walls. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that a beer can floating around in space that's supposedly pressurized at 14.7 psi is a factual impossibility. Right? So not a tough one, but, you know, we're going to give all that to NASA and we're going to let them debunk themselves. And then we'll just take it from there. So other than that, we got a few other things to talk about today. I got some interesting news that I'm working with Dr. John D on some laser experiments. And I'm not exactly sure what to think because his preliminary experiments so far are showing that basically that light waves do not exist. Now, I got to tell you, I cannot tell you how much I disagree with that. And I think that there's something that is not being done correctly, but we are just barely in the, you know, opening phases of this. But, you know, in my way of thinking, that if what he's saying is true, then laser interferometry must be entirely untrue, and the technology based on it, Sagnac effect, things like oscillators that mix signals in free space I mean, so many things could not be possible. I mean, I love the fact that John D is doing this and he went out and bought all kinds of laser experiments, but boy, so far the preliminary, so the results are really, really hard to accept. So we're going to look at that a little bit and see what that's going to look like. Then we're going to look at a thing that Dave Weiss sent me. There's a guy named Colin somebody anyway. His YouTube page is called Lifting the Veil. And this guy is a real clown show. He just came out with a 4-hour video, and he's going to do it in multiple part series where he claims it's all factual and debunks the, flat Earth in its entirety. Now, and when, basically we're going to look at a little bit of that, but I got to tell you guys, when I look at stuff like that, it is so stupidity. It's basically him saying, oh yeah, well, you just need to go over and check out Wolfie. And he does all this. He doesn't explain anything himself. He just makes it seem like, yeah, he's got it all down. And so tells you to go over and check out Wolfie. And it's like, why don't you just explain it to us yourself, Colin, because he doesn't understand it any better than the rest of the people that are making these stories up. And I honestly, I've had the position for years that debating these people is pointless because they are, utterly straw man arguments, and they just never go anywhere. So, but we'll see what you guys think about that. And then, of course, we have another Level Earth Observer retro NASA video, which is kind of cool. We'll take a look at that. And then Brian Stavely sent me over a Michelle Thaler Big Think video, which apparently they're now doing a series on, thinking big, like the really, really big thinkers like Michelle Thaler. And she asked some utterly stupid questions, which we're going to address that. But before we get to all that, let's go ahead and introduce the panel today and see what's going on. So first up, as always, we have Jeran from Jeranism. How you doing today, Jeran?
Hey, Bob. Doing all right. I could be better, actually, far better. But I think I have a feeling that will happen as soon as the show starts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you not feeling well, or?
No, I feel great. I just love this show so much that I'm going to be feeling even better when it gets going.
Aw, that's so nice. Awesome. Okay. Cool. And next up, we have with us Mr. Iru Landucci from the European continent today. How you doing today, Iru?
Hello. I'm fine. Hello, everyone. I'm still in the European continent. I get from Barcelona to Switzerland again without any. I, as expected, have some issues with this COVID passport and things like that, but they still allow us to travel. So I'm good. I'm good.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that sounds good. And let's see. Well, Austin is with us, but Morgile is not, which is weird. Right? He's probably either being fashionably late or something, but I did send him a text, so hopefully he'll join us soon. But otherwise, we do have Austin Whitsitt with us from Whitsitt Gets It. How you doing today, Austin?
Hey, doing pretty good. Just getting everything in order to get the tour back going finally. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You've had a little bit of bad luck, obviously. And that sucks. So you want to tell everybody what's happened to you, what's been going on over the past few days?
Yeah, sure. I was in a wreck a couple days ago. It was pretty crazy, bro. Epic timing. Like, I was eating some beef jerky, it spilled out, and then I tried to catch it and knock my coffee over, and it all started spilling on me as I looked down to grab it. Boom, there were cars in front of me. It was a lot of fun, man. Good times. And kind of messed up my truck to where it's not really drivable. So I've been just trying to work that out. I think I figured out a car. I think Kai's going to borrow a car. So I had to drive all the way to Vegas and back, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it's been an interesting last couple of days, but it's all good. It happens.
Yeah, that it does. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That really stinks, but hopefully we can keep you guys going and keep the tour going, because it is super important, especially in this particular time frame where everything seems to be kind of zeroing in on I don't know, a 0 point. I don't even know how to describe it. It's so crazy. I mean, the mainstream media is in so much disarray. You have to wonder, it's like, okay, so is this part of the plan? All of this crazy reporting and contradictions and all this stuff, is this part of the plan, or are they really this screwed up, or is it really going this badly for them? I mean, I honestly don't know, but every day there's a lot of things that I look at and it's like, wow, this is some really good news. But, by the same token, that really good news could be just another type of distraction. And, it's hard to really zero in on what they're doing, because, everything is a deception on a deception on a deception. And it's just crazy, So, and I know we're all feeling the same things, trying to follow along with what's happening. So crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's almost so preposterous at this point. It's like I can't even wrap my mind around this being like an end game, or it just seems like, I don't know. You would think that this has got to kind of blow over, but who knows nowadays.
Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you? But by the same token, you also realize that where we have, the position that the elite are in right now, it just seems to me that if they backed off now, they would lose it, for good. Well, I don't know. They may or may not. I have no idea because I have no experience in planning, dominating world takeovers. But it's just, I asked the question years ago if, we weren't kind of, expediting our own demise by exposing the elite and all the stuff that they have been doing, and it backs them into a corner and backs them into a corner. And, then it comes down to a point of, are they going to wake up? Are the people going to wake up before the government strikes or the governments strike? Or is it going to go the other way around? But it's just so weird because they're right now, all the stuff that they are doing just seems so non sequitur. It does not seem like it's coordinated anymore. Versus like a year and a half ago, they definitely seem to have a plan. And now it's just a big cluster screw, it's crazy.
Yeah, it makes you think they're waiting for people to finally say they've had enough and just see how long it takes or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I really hope that, a lot of people do. And we, that's obviously what we're trying to do is get people to stand up and say, look, enough is enough. If we say no, there's nothing you can do. And, I watched some videos, one guy that was being interviewed who's a UK cop, and he's saying, or maybe it was Australian. It was an Australian cop. He's saying, I'm not qualified to do anything else. I don't know what else to do. And my wife is, so they're feeling the pinch, right? Financially, obviously, they don't want to have to go out and become criminals to live their life. But by the same token, by enforcing what the government is telling them to do, they are becoming criminals. And it's just bizarre that they don't see it that way. And not only are they becoming criminals, but they're becoming criminals in the worst kind of way, betraying humanity. And it's just absolutely unbelievable that, they cannot see that. They cannot see beyond that if they continue down this course, and clearly it's worldwide, and if they help facilitate this, we're all done for. They may buy themselves a little bit of time, just like the people that come on here and the trolls and are actually working to promote the elite's agenda. Maybe you guys might buy yourself a little bit of time, or maybe you have been promised, some special treatment in the end or something like that. But you know what? In the end, that ain't ever going to happen because they don't care about you. They don't care about us. And, if we don't take our power back, then we are in deep trouble. So that's all I have to say about that. So one thing that you were doing is you hooked up with a girl, I guess her name is Kai, and she kind of came out of nowhere. I have no idea, I really don't know much about her. Can you tell us a little bit about her? Because I want to play this song that she did, this Matrix song, because I think it's really good. It's a little short song, but it's just really super good that you guys did together.
Yeah, this is really just her, but I met her actually on like the Flat Earth Discord, funny enough, and I was just on there the first time she came. We talked a little bit, and yeah, we would talk on there, and then I ended up being coming close to her, and we would text and FaceTime, so we decided to hang out, and we just hit it off real good, and it's just gone from there. She's just real smart and based and down to make long-term plans that aren't degenerate. So she's cool, and yeah, she's super talented. She makes like really good music. She just walks around singing like this all the time. It's pretty wild. So I'm just kind of trying to be in her ear, like, this is what glitches out the matrix, especially like a pretty female, but just good music is kind of the universal language, So if we could get her to put more stuff out, and then we did a quick little song for my intro, and then she had been working on this. And so we got her to finally finish it. And yeah, I think it's pretty cool, man. I think you have to kind of lie to say it's not good, even if you're like a glober or something. So like 10 people are just have really miserable lives,
Yeah, no doubt. Because it is outstanding. I mean, it is really, really good. I love her style. And yeah, I'd love to get, maybe have her do something for some music for Glowbusters or something, but hopefully we'll get a chance to meet her. Do you know if she's going to be able to make it to Flattoberfest?
Yeah, we'll both be there for sure.
Sweet. Okay, well then I'll definitely be talking to her then. So, okay guys, so this, it's by Kai Z, I guess is how you would just pronounce it, called Matrix. And I'm going to go ahead and play it. It's just a 3-minute and 10-second little clip, but it is really, really good. You guys I think you guys can really do some cool stuff together. And I'm just really excited to see what comes out, of her and you guys next. So let's give this a listen, guys, and tell us what you think. Here we go.
Got their heads in the clouds with a mask on the face like a clown. What they gonna say right now, right now? Oh, you wanna be awake right now, right now? Well, you better get real brave right now. Put your knees on the ground, gotta pray to the king with a crown. I have to tell you that we're living deep in the matrix. We in the matrix. Chase all the lies and you'll find that this place was created. You were created, darling. What they gonna say right now? What they gonna say right now? You about to have a panic attack real quick. Like, sorry, the earth's flat, it's fact, no trick. Just look at the proof and the true measurements. Cause I've been winning arguments against the best physicists. But this, don't know what it is. Lately I've been going around in circles, but I do not feel the spin. Oh, this, don't know what it is. But you gotta keep it like a secret, you can't even tell your friends. And if you tell them, they say, how could it be? Don't mean nothing to me, they're gonna pick up and leave. And if you tell them, they say, how could it be? Don't mean nothing to me, they're gonna fall back asleep. What they gonna say right now, right now? Oh, they really wanna hate right now, right now. But I think they're just afraid right now. Got their heads in the clouds with a mask on the face like a clown. What they gonna say right now, right now? Oh, you wanna be awake right now, right now? Well, you better get real brave right now. Put your knees on the ground, gotta pray to the king with a crown. I have to tell you that we're living deep in the matrix. We in the matrix. Chase all the lies and you'll find that this place was created. You were created, darling. What they gonna say right now? What they gonna say right now? What they gonna say right now? What they gonna say right now?
Awesome sauce. That is so
cool.
good. Yeah, that is really good. And then what was the other one? She did one before this, I think. Oh, this one right here. This is the one that you did. I actually had these two mixed up. And this is just a two minute little thing, but this is where you're in the background and she's talking about you going around the country and, trying to make a difference and, on tour and all this stuff. And I thought this was awesome too. And you know what? I'm going to play this too. So let's go ahead and play this one really quick too, since it's only 2 minutes, but, I definitely wanted people to hear both of these because she is just super good. And you guys together, I think, have got a really bright future, especially in creating music. I think this is great. So let's give this a listen also.
know the Earth's flat? The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
Oh yeah.
Waking up the public, time to liberate. Though you're doing great when they start to hate. In a world, yeah.
Stockholm syndrome got me fighting with the slaves. But how they about to face the truth when they can't show their face? Now the system don't control me, yeah, the beast is getting slayed. Austin got the pout, they look sour, oh behave. But I'm about my father business witness, he gon' get this praise. I ignore you cause the Torah, only thing that I obey. I ain't with the social distancing, but I'ma need my space. They be boring me with quarantine, so stay up in your place.
The masquerade, waking up the public, time to liberate. No, you're doing great when they start to hate. In a world, yeah.
I'm sorry we didn't go to the moon, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't lie to you, bro. I'm sorry. I think it'd be cool if we went to the moon too, dude. It was a cool story. I'm sorry you got triggered.
Oh man, that is just so good, Austin. Absolutely killer.
Thank you. We were trying to make the video like where it's so like lighthearted or whatever, you know, where if you could watch it and get mad, you know, like that's our new approach. That's what, like if you can watch it and still get mad, like you're just helpless, man. Like look, like you know, it's just like a happy, you know, no reason to focus on the negative globe zealots. Like just focus on the truth, man, and then let the chips fall where they may is kind of the idea. So we plan on bringing a lot more.
Definitely. And the high vibration of the music itself. I mean, it's just really, really upbeat, makes you feel good, you know, and like I said, you guys together, and I will never forget. I mean, I was watching the night that, I don't remember what city it was in, is where they were playing the baseball game, but you know, that girl walked up to you and you know, hey, do you know the Earth is flat? And she's like, what? The Earth is flat? She runs down the street screaming, the Earth is flat. That was just, oh my God, that was hilarious.
Yeah, it's like the funniest thing that's happened the whole tour for sure.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you know, there's definitely a lot of memorable moments, both, you know, good and bad, but, you know, we prefer to remember the positive ones. And that was definitely one. Super good. And, yeah, I just think, you know, if you guys weren't crazy flat earthers, it wouldn't surprise me to see somebody approach you to sign you for something. I mean, it really is that good. But, you know, what do I know?
Well, thank you. Much appreciated, bro. I'll extend the message.
Excellent. Yeah, and tell Kai I'm looking forward to meeting her at Plateauberfest, which is going to be awesome. So very cool.
Yeah, I think we got like 4 nights, man, so we can hang out, you know, even after or something.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds excellent. So, alrighty then. So let's see, what else did I want to cover? So I want to show you guys something that this is what I was talking about earlier about Dr. John D. And he just put these out recently. And basically he was able to get like a kind of a crosshatch pattern, but he wasn't able to get an interference pattern out of the laser. And of course, the problem with that is that, you know, it would lead somebody to the conclusion that there would not be necessarily any wave properties to light. And again, we're not saying that light is a wave. It's a wave is what a light is doing. It's a perturbation. It's a redundant cyclical type of stimulation that is done in a you know, obviously in a timely fashion where, it creates a wave, a stimulation. And depending on how fast you excite that medium, in this case, which would be the luminiferous ether, would be the frequency of the wave itself. So it's not that the light is a wave, it's that the light is waving, right? The ether is waving, and that's, basically what's going on here. But, what John Dee kind of came out of this with is that, when he was not able to cause an interference, optically by looking at this, he was saying that, well, this kind of is evidence towards the idea that light is not a wave. And, now the reason I disagree with that is because you wouldn't be able to see that, first of all, when we're talking about the type of frequencies that you are, and the actual terahertz that the laser frequencies are up in that band, you would not be able to see that with the naked eye. You would not be able to make any distinctions. Okay. So, and this of course is why they use like phase discriminators and equipment that can actually break that down and make a sample quick enough that, it can actually differentiate out one or two cycles of that phase. Right. So, but anyway, it's just interesting. And, John Dee and I have an interesting relationship because he's a great guy. I really do like him, and I will have him on the show. But we definitely have a different take on things, but we've kind of learned to work, I guess, respect each other's viewpoints. Let's put it that way. And try and work through these things because we're both very interested in getting at the truth. And, when I say that I'm willing to set aside my beliefs about, these wave properties of light, I truly am. But after spending so many years, as an engineer, and especially working in RF and radio wave frequencies, it's very difficult to let go of some things that, for a fact works. The technology absolutely works. Just like, how can you say that light is not a wave if you have effects like Sagnac effect, which is in modern day technologies, like ring laser gyros and fiber optic gyros, that absolutely does work. And if it is not that, then what is it, right? Then, wow, are they lying to us on a level that's unbelievable? And then they would have to also get that past all of the amateur experimenters out there. And, so to me, it's, some of the stuff is very difficult to get past. But, and I never thought I would actually come across somebody that was a freer thinker than me. But I would say that John Dee kind of crosses that line. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe not. But it's pretty cool. Anyway, it's fun working with him. And, I hope to continue onto that. You have any thoughts on it, Austin, about what you think might be going on, why he wasn't detecting any interference patterns?
I don't know, man. I have to digest it.
Okay. Yeah. You really probably haven't even seen it yet, but, yeah, it's just interesting, but, you talk about coming at something and taking it on completely different, it's kind of like the whole gravity argument, people, this whole gravity argument that's going on. Obviously, so many flat earthers are of the opinion that gravity absolutely does not exist. Then there are other people like me that say, well, no, the phenomenon that is causing what we're perceiving as gravity is more of an electrostatic type of phenomenon. It's something that the mainstream doesn't acknowledge at all. And frankly, I think the reason they don't acknowledge it at all is because they have to have this magical gravity, right? So I'm looking at it in a different way, and then other people are looking at it in different ways. And it's really difficult because everybody gets really super passionate about these viewpoints. And, I think the reality is that, we've been lied to about so many things that we almost have to go back to the grassroots level and do what John Dee is doing and start these experiments from, Jump Street. And at least fortunately we can, that kind of technology is available for us to be able to do that. And, but again, there's so many other things going on in the world that it's just another distraction, right? So what's more important? Do we expose what's going on in the world, or do we say, hey, these guys lied to us about the wave properties of light? It's makes it a little difficult to prioritize.
Yeah, it's trying to find a healthy balance, maybe. I don't know. It's a sticky situation. I think the worst thing for them is us having these conversations, maybe passionate but respectful. Like when we just keep it in that realm where we're having like productive intellectual exchange and everyone's not so rigid or dogmatic and we talk through it, that's like the most dangerous thing. But yeah, they're doing pretty good at keeping us distracted from these type of conversations.
Yeah, they really are. And not to mention and I hate to bring this up, but I mean, it keeps coming back that, when you do have a different opinion and express it, then you get members of the community that are calling you a shill and that you're a paid agent, like so many have done with me. And it's really absurd. And it's just like, I can't even believe that anybody would behave like that. But then when I consider who it is, it doesn't surprise me. So we have got to allow for different modes of thinking, because let's face it, guys, everything that we've been taught is either greatly distorted or just a lie outright. And, a lot of this stuff we can determine pretty easy, just like what we're going to be talking about today. In my mind, there is no reason why when the person gets done watching the show from today and looks at the simple presentation of the structures that are required just for the test facilities of the vacuum, as compared to supposed real world operating environments for these vehicles in space, there is no freaking way, that something like the ISS or anything with a beer can, type of skin, less than 1 inch steel, could possibly withstand these pressure differentials, I should say, that are allegedly out in space, right? It's just not possible. And, that's what we really have to hope that we can get across to people, is this type of thinking. It's like, screw your head back on, get your head out of Narnia and fantasy world, and really think it through for a little bit, right? So anyway, let's hope that they can do that. But so Dr. John D has a few more of these laser experiments. They're enlisted mostly, but he did release 2 of them. And he's going to be doing, I'm sure he's going to be doing a lot more, because he spent quite a little sum of money, or somebody did, on the lasers. And so it should be interesting to see some of the results that he comes up with. And hopefully we can come up with some really cool experiments for him to do as well. So there you have it. All right. So next thing I want to cover is another Level Earth Observer short, which is really cool. What he's doing is actually something that, Jeran and I should be doing, because there's a guy in Canada, Mikey in Canada, that gave us a NASA DVD gift set. And I copied them, and then I gave them to Jeran. And I think, Jeran, you've been as bad as me. I've watched them, and there really are a lot of nifty things in there. But it's just like going back through all those DVDs and finding it. But nevertheless, there is a lot of gold in them there DVDs. And I think that we could find a lot of cool stuff in there. But in the meantime, we've got Level Earth Observer, who is looking at these old clips and the laughability of them, and kind of bringing them out to us. So I just want to pass this on. So let's watch this little 3-minute video of an older, I don't know if this is, I know it's not the ISS, it's probably the one before that, but anyway, it's a launch of a satellite, and the graphics, the trickery, it's so bad. It's just so bad. But this is something that people really need to have pointed out to them. So let's give it a listen. Here we go.
Check this out. Old school NASA, early shuttle program, supposed satellite release. Look at how bad this stuff is. How did we ever fall for this nonsense in the first place? Dear oh dear. Let's have a look.
This music is just absurd.
Okay, the port restraint is out. Here comes the span.
Looking at the back of the shuttle, looks like it's been designed by some Pac-Man duvet company. The satellite itself is like some oversized, out of control, dusty bin. Terrible. Even the two chaps in the control room, when they set eyes on this stuff, you can see that they're struggling to believe this nonsense. And I don't blame them. Look at it. It's terrible.
Yeah, we see it down here, Bill. It's beautiful. Okay, Mike, we're at 52, coming back down to 51 RPM.
You could spin that thing at 1,000 RPM and play as much space supermarket music as you like. I'm still not buying it. It's terrible, chaps.
Roger, we copy. You guys look good. And Columbia, Houston, everyone down here is go for deploy with 2 minutes left over Hawaii. And so is everyone up here. Roger, we copy.
Look at the state of that.
Mike, we hope the TV comes out. It doesn't play back very well on a monitor.
It doesn't, mate, because it's fucking fake, fraudulent. It's a mixture of models, props, space supermarket music, Pac-Man duvets, and out-of-control fucking dusty bins. It's terrible, mate. Let's have one last look.
It is
for
bad.
anyone who's struggling here, any space believers who actually believed NASA. Let's have one last look just to clear the fog here. There should be no one who watches this and actually believes this at the end.
Okay, and the port restraint is out. Here comes the spin. Here it goes. Yeah, we see it down here, Bill. It's beautiful. Okay, Mike, we're at 52, coming back down to 51 RPM. Roger, we copy. You guys look good. And Columbia, Houston, everyone down here is go for deploy with 2 minutes left over Hawaii. And so is everyone up here. Roger, we copy.
That is just the worst.
If you want to believe nonsense like this, you carry on. Just don't expect people like myself to go along with it. Because quite clearly, it's utter fucking nonsense.
Yep, Leo, I couldn't agree more. It's just amazing. And there's so much of this stuff, you know, from the older missions. This was a Columbia mission, I guess. But there's so much of this. There's 20 years of it, and they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage. And, you know, if they actually publish that much footage, you have to wonder how much of it wound up in the bin, right? Pretty crazy. So let's see. All right, so let's get rid of that. Well, you guys are talking a bunch today. All right, so this one, I guess we'll go ahead and cover this one really quick also. This is a Big Think video, and of course, by our favorite, you know, Big Think shill, Michelle Thaler. And, you know, this is just stupidity, honestly. She comes right out and tells us point blank that we have no absolute frames of reference to be able to, you know, tell where we are or what's moving with respect to what, all of this stuff. And yet, by the same token, NASA will then turn around and tell us that, you know, they can target Voyager 3 billion miles across the universe somewhere and be able to pinpoint it with a microwave antenna and bring it up, right? Or even more so, to be able to target something that is 1.25 billion with a B light years across the galaxy, right? And watch it and then be able to tell all this intricate information about it, you know, and all the time they're saying, but we really have no way, there is no absolute reference. Well, if there's no absolute reference, then how in the hell are we finding anything, right? That, I mean, this is the problem with relativity, guys. When the reality, first of all, in the flat earth model, and we know this for a fact anyway, the earth itself is the stationary, absolute stationary reference. Up is up, down is down. the Earth is stationary, it's not going anywhere, and of course, space is fake. Because as you will find out today, there is no engineering that has been carried out yet that has been launched into space that could possibly deal with the requirements required to be able to keep those tremendous pressure differentials from collapsing into each other. It just doesn't happen. So let's watch and listen to what Michelle has to say. And she's going to tell you point blank that they know nothing. And then she's going to start talking about magnetic fields and how Jupiter has a bigger magnetic field than we do. And yet somehow it's a gas planet. It's just absurd. And of course, our magnetic field, right? Let's not forget that our magnetic field comes from a molten iron core, which of course would break all Curie laws, right? Once you get above a certain temperature on molten metal, and this is something that your junior high science class teaches, right? The permeability, magnetic permeability goes bye-bye. It's like, see ya, it's not there anymore. So the thing that they're absolutely claiming is causing our magnetic field, it's not possible point blank according to the current laws of physics. So why they continue to confuse the issue? Well, because that's what they do, right? It's their business to confuse the issue and get people fighting and arguing over it, because there's always going to be those people that stand behind NASA and everything that they say, no matter what they say, even if they say the sky is green or black or pink or whatever, right? They're going to back it up. And then there's other people that will actually look at it objectively and critically. And of course, those aren't the people that NASA wants, evaluating their stuff. So let's listen to Michelle Thaler. I apologize beforehand if you guys get sick, might want to grab a barf bag, but here she goes, the purple plum herself. Here we go. Oops.
Doesn't involve a magnetic field out between the galaxies where really
let me start that over again.
How do you find your direction in space that doesn't involve a magnetic field out between the galaxies where really there's no detectable magnetic field at all?
That's a great question, Michelle.
Everything is moving. There's nothing to say this point is still and this is the reference point we're going to use, and everything moves according to that point. We're moving around the sun at about 66,000 miles an hour right now. The sun is moving around the galaxy, around the core of the galaxy at about 500,000 miles an hour. We are actually falling gravitationally into the center of a cluster of galaxies at about 1.5 million miles an hour. And that's just when we say relative to what? Relative to the sun, relative to this group of galaxies. There is no absolute standard of reference in the universe.
And of course, she knows all the universe incomplete, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta love it. You gotta love the name of it. Explain it like I'm smart.
And I know everything.
That is just hilarious. I'm sorry. It's just so in your face. It's hilarious. Explain it like I'm smart. Like I want to be smart. And so tell me all about it. And like I said, again, she's going to tell you, well, there is no absolute point of reference. We have no absolute velocities. We have no absolute directions. We kind of sort of have a magnetic north and south to the galaxy itself, to our Milky Way galaxy. But other than that, we got nothing. Yet, we can pinpoint targets 1.25 billion light years across the galaxy or across the solar system, anywhere from 1 to 3 billion miles, right? And again, mind you guys, these are, when you're talking about that much terrain or space or whatever, you can't afford to just be in the ballpark. You've got to be nuts on, because there's way too much area out there to scan. I mean, talk about finding a needle in the haystack. Yet NASA never has any problem doing it, do they? Well, so that's my question, NASA. How do you do that when you have no absolute frame of reference, when you have no absolute direction, and you have no absolute way of telling where anything is, especially when you tell us that, the universe as we know it, between our rotation and our revolutions around the sun and our revolutions around the Milky Way and the Milky Way revolution around the Great Attractor, and then going into an ever-expanding universe. All of these directions, we got 5, 6, 7, 8 different directions that are constantly changing, and yet, somehow, it resets every single year to be pretty much exactly the same thing, you know, plus or minus, you know, a few very, very minute details. So it's just astounding the way that they pull this off. But let's continue on before I get carried away here.
I mean, she's the same one that tells us that she doesn't know what 97% of the universe is. So
exactly.
Yeah.
What's to say?
Yeah,
sure.
It's exactly
It's
true.
not, I think right now she has like 10 kilos more, but it's the same person. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Oops.
Let's talk first about compasses, and then maybe talk a bit more about the idea of how we locate ourselves in space in general. A compass is something that responds to a magnetic field. So the reason a compass always points north is that it's responding to the magnetic field of the Earth. Our planet has this wonderful core of molten metal. That metal moves around inside the Earth, and it generates a magnetic field that has two poles, a north.
Like I said, guys, look up Curie Point. What she just told you is bullshit. Mainstream science will tell you that as well. In fact, and the reality is science has no idea what is really causing the magnetic field of Earth, because, you know, slowly but surely enough people have become awake to the idea of the Curie point in metals that they know damn well that molten metal cannot put out a magnetic signature. It can't happen. It doesn't happen. And in like I said, a junior high experiment can show this to be true. As soon as you start heating a magnet, it loses its permeability really, really fast. But hey, that never stopped NASA, right?
North Pole and a South Pole. So when you make a compass, you make it out of something metal that can respond to that magnetic field, and it points to the magnetic pole of the Earth, which is very close to our North Pole. So a magnetic field directs compasses. Obviously, if you go away from the Earth, far away from our planet, it's no longer going to be able to feel our magnetic field. So a compass will not point to the North Pole of the Earth if, say, you're out by Saturn. Saturn and Jupiter are separate planets, and they have magnetic fields of their own. So certainly, if you were actually close to Jupiter, Jupiter has a magnetic field much stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. Your compass would definitely point to the North Pole of Jupiter if you were actually around Jupiter now.
So I have to wonder why Jupiter has a much stronger magnetic field than Earth. Do you guys have any idea behind that? Any information on that?
No, because supposedly it's a gas planet, so I think nobody knows. If you want to believe that there's a sphere, blah 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 blah, what is the main core of the planet to produce that magnetic field? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, Jeran. They're so good at telling us, what things are or what things aren't, but then they don't ever offer, explanations that are at least viable in place of that, and then, like I said, and then they make just stupid statements and claim to be able to do incredible feats of engineering, navigation, technological breakthroughs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at distances of 1.25 billion light years across the galaxy. It's so crazy, so nuts.
Yeah, the thing is that they transfer a lot of attribute from the esoteric world to the planet. For example, the hexagram at the top of the North Pole of Saturn, which nobody, of course, ever see, but the mainstream media, they repeat that Saturn has a cube in the North Pole, three-dimensional cube shaped as an hexagram.
Yep.
Or hexagon, sorry for my English. But if you go to the Kabbalist and you go back into the esoteric orders, they pick via the intuition that Saturn is the sixth planet. I don't know how to pronounce in English, but it's the number 6 in terms of the planet. Jupiter is the number 5. So they give the shape of the pentagram to Jupiter, and they give the number 6 to Saturn. So they just pick those attributes and transfer into some type of science attribute. So maybe Jupiter has a really big magnetic field because they used to worship Jupiter in the Roman empire, and they take Jupiter as Jesus, and blah blah blah. So maybe that is why they, right now, they tell that is a big planet, or the biggest planet in the solar system, and things like that.
That's so crazy. I never thought about that before with the hex on Saturn 6, the Panton.
No, in fact, if you put Galileo, I'm going to give you the link so you can show to the people. But there you're going to have the platonics symbols of the planets is just that. That is why they transfer that.
Okay, and it makes me think immediately, of course, going back to Richard Hoagland, when he is talking about Earth, right? Well, also on Mars too, but when he's talking about Earth, he talks about if you place a tetragrammaton or basically a pyramid inside of the Earth, then the points of the pyramid touch at 19.47 degrees, 120 degrees apart, right? But that would be at 3 points with respect to the pole. So, and I'm not sure what Mars's number may be in there, but yeah, just go ahead and throw me that link over and I'll take a look at it. Let me go ahead and finish this video out there. It's only got another minute to play, and then we will look at yours. So here we go.
But what if you get farther out? What if you actually go farther from there? Is there any magnetic field out in space itself? Well, actually, it turns out that our galaxy does have a magnetic field as a whole too. This magnetic field might be hard to detect. You might need a very, very sensitive compass, but say you had it, you would actually see that our galaxy does have sort of a magnetic north and south pole, and that magnetic field permeates our whole galaxy. So with compasses, you could actually at least find out where the north and south pole of another planet is, the north and south pole of a star. A star has a magnetic field too. Even the north and south pole of a galaxy. So if you were trying to navigate with a compass in space, just remember that compass is going to respond to the strongest and closest magnetic field. It will point north to the pole of a planet, north to the pole of a star, even to the north and south magnetic poles of our galaxy. But what you're reading is a magnetic field. That's what a compass does. And that's pretty much all it can tell you.
And that's pretty much all she can tell us. Okay. So then you have to ask yourself, right? Well, obviously we know that, through our charting of the galaxies from here on Earth, that the reason that we are able to make such precise records of exactly where these stars, these constellations, these galaxies, these universes are, is because they're always in the same coordinates. So how can they, if you don't have an absolute reference, an absolute frame of reference, and if things are truly all constantly moving in this scrambled, shuffled, mix of directions, how can we ever track anything? I mean, that honestly, I honestly have that question. Ballers, hook me up on that, because, if we have no absolute frames of reference, then you tell us how NASA pulls off navigation in any way, shape, or form. I think that's a very viable question, don't you guys?
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is a recent video?
Yeah, it came out today, or let's see.
Okay, so
24th.
You think this is them kind of, because I've kind of felt for a while what they're going to end up doing is updating the model, but just in the sense that they're going to acknowledge a differentiation in the medium, right? Like they're going to acknowledge the medium is not quite what they said. And then they're going to try to implement electromagnetism, right? More like the electric universe aspect, and try to gather discrepancies. And I feel like this is them getting out ahead of it. Maybe, I don't know, but because like what she's saying makes no sense. You'd have to have a really special compass. Let's just say that you did. Well, then how do you know it's there? How did you figure it out? But I feel like they're going to eventually roll that out, right? So that way they can acknowledge some type of medium to make up that huge discrepancy they have right now, where they assume that it's basically nothingness, right? I don't know. It's just me speculating because I don't see why they would put this out. I don't really.
Well, we do know that especially since the Thunderbolts project has become more and more popular and prolific, right? A lot more scientists and engineers are asking questions about it. Just like some of the things that we never hear about. like there's a periodicity to the sun, that it actually dims and gets brighter at a very specific periodicity, right? Why is that? That's crazy. We have no explanation for that in our model, and yet the electric universe does. So maybe you're right. Maybe they're trying to say, well, yeah, maybe electricity plays more of a role in this universe than we've led on to believe, because up until now, gravity has reigned supreme, right? And even they have to say that, well, we have to invent dark matter and dark forces and dark energies to compensate for the so-called gravitational pulls that we're calculating that should be there. And yet, from what we're observing, there's nothing to create those gravitational energies. So maybe you're right, Austin. Maybe they're eventually going to say, hey, you know what? It really is about electricity and, gravity. Of course, when that happens, though, then, I think that what's going to happen at that point is when they start looking at these electrical currents, and I've said this before, that they're going to start getting an idea that the scales, the magnitudes that they think they are, spanning galaxies and galaxies, couldn't possibly be anywhere near these numbers that they are asserting that they would be, and that may lead them right on a path back to a very small and local universe, right? That's what I think may happen, and that's probably why they haven't done that yet.
Yeah, right. They also couldn't walk back. They can't walk back the medium either, right? Like they're staying with the vacuum of space. They have to, because we've supposedly been there, So I feel like they could still try to absorb electric universe in a vacuum, right? I don't know about the distances, like the magnitude of pull, if you will. I don't know how that would line up. I feel like the writing's on the wall. They've acknowledged that they don't have a unified theory of anything, and this is clearly it. It's very clearly electric, right? Is clear, very. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they would have to completely scrap the size, and that's why they don't do it. To me, it's perplexing. They're very calculative when they put out propaganda, and so to just come out here and address this, I don't know. How else would you? I mean, it must be real. People are so brainwashed. If they just put out a news article and it says, astonishing discovery, astronomers discovered that there is, in fact, a crazy electrical phenomena happening in our universe, then people will be like, wow, we figured it out. So I don't know. It seems odd to me that they would do that. I mean, I know it's not particularly, what she's saying is just so stupid. It almost doesn't even deserve a serious response intellectually. She just sounds dumb to me, but I'm just trying to figure out, for real, but like, why would they come out and even talk about the galaxy has a magnetic field? You just have to have a super special Superman. I don't know. It just seems.
Yeah, exactly. So here's this piece of paper or here's this document that Eru sent over. Now I know what you're talking about, Eru. And this, by the way,
it's Kepler, by the way. I said Galileo, right, but it was Kepler. But the thing is that, for example, if you go back to at that time, all these initiated guys in Secret Lodge and Secret Knowledge, they all come from the Pythagorean type of society or knowledge, whatever you want to call it. So they assign, for example, also, and that this is very funny because they assign sounds to the planet, because in terms of the philosophical background of the planet, they believe at that time that the sphere is the most perfect shape in the universe, right? In the creation, the sphere. Mm-hmm. So they transferred that to our planet because they used to believe that this planet is something made by the perfection of the creator. So it must be a sphere because it's the perfect shape. And they also start assigning music notes, do, C, D, A, F, all these related.
Right, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Yep, up to the scale.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I just said the English way. Yeah, we call re, do, mi, fa, sol, etc., etc.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is that this is very funny because in 2013, supposedly NASA sent a probe into space to just to show to the world that the Pythagorean was right in assigning music to the planet, because this proof has a special device to detect the sound vibration of every planet, and amazing coincidence with the Pythagorean knowledge, that things like that. And I also think for myself how a planet could send music or sound vibration in the empty of space. I mean, it's a little strange, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you know what also this proves unequivocally is that we are in a created realm. I mean, look at the mathematical precision that's going on here. When we're dealing with cymatic creations, and basically that's what Kepler's talking about here. He says, Kepler discovered in 1596 that the ratios of the orbits of the 6 planets known in his day were the same as the ratios between nested platonic solids. Kepler was understandably quite impressed with this discovery and called it the Mysterium Cosmographicum. I hope that's it. Anyway, I heard of this in a course in the history of astronomy long ago, and have had in the back of my mind that one day I'd look into this in detail. How exactly do you fit these regular solids together? How well do the planetary ratios match the regular solid ratios? Imagine the orbit of each planet being the equator of a spherical shell centered at the sun. The 5 regular solids fit snugly into the spaces between the shells. Between Mercury and Venus, you can insert an octahedron. It's in radius of the distance of the Mercury to the sun, and its circumradius is the distance of Venus to the sun. You can fit the other regular solids in similarly. Okay, the icosahedron between Venus and Earth, the dodecahedron between Earth and Mars, the tetrahedron between Mars and Jupiter, and the hexahedron between Jupiter and Saturn. Now, what's interesting about this, guys, is where is this perfect sphere in here? These platonic solids, these 5 platonic solids, which make up literally every form known in creation, does not contain a sphere. So maybe, this horse manure that we've been taught all this time that, well, yeah, because you have gravity, and gravity pulls everything into a perfect sphere because everything is related, definitely to an absolute center. That is an agenda that they want to put forward, but there is no evidence for it. And yeah, we can see circular things, we can see things that are in circles, but no evidence that they're spheres. There's no evidence that the moon is a sphere. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that the moon is not a sphere. And the same goes for the planets, right? So when you're looking at the mathematical precision, in what Kepler found between, the orbits of the planets and the ratios in between them and the distances in between them, all of this stuff ties together again with cymatic, constructs, right? The cymatics arise from the vibration and bring matter into form, right? And this is what's going on. And of course, it all seems to take place in a perfectly mathematically descriptive way about it, right? That's amazing. How does something like that happen in a Big Bang universe where it's utter chaos and it's complete dissymmetry and it's complete chaos and all this, and then it evolves itself into something as perfect as cymatic creation, which we can demonstrate all day long. And even the so-called, planets and the orbits of the planets, which, mind you, we really have no idea where these distances are, the exact distances, but where they're getting it from is they're getting it from general ratios that you kind of extrapolate out of the planetary orbit. So I suppose what they're asserting is valid based on that alone. But as far as the actual distances, there's no way that they could ever possibly know that. Right. So they have to kind of go along with just an idea of the ratios fitting into this orbital construct that they're making. So anyway, yeah, that's really interesting, Yuru, that they do this. But
because we did a few time ago, like 2 years ago, we make a presentation with a physicist, which is a friend of mine. That he's a really enthusiastic of trying to study the past to at least to make some matches with the present. And more back you go in time, and everything is a construct of Kabbalist and that type of information that they transfer into our modern day world. But it's all based on what they think about perfection and music. They transfer, for example, the musical note into this type of distance and radio, but because they think that maybe that is the case, without any type of course, evidence for real thing. The fact is that nobody knows about the space. Nobody knows. We're trying to guess things, but nobody knows. So every culture take their own opinions and or intuition and trying to transfer to some mathematical construct. That's all.
Yep, exactly. But just the fact that there is any mathematical symmetry in the first place, tells me that anything other than creation is not even in the realm of possibility. This had to be intentional. You do not get this type of symmetry and mathematical and numerical perfection from chaos. Just doesn't happen. So
no, that's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, crazy stuff. So yeah, that's super interesting. Cool.
Well, I get it from some sort of mathematical model, some sort of if the universe is a simulation, then a lot of those things would make sense.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I've always thought that, it's like, it is amazing. And whether it's created or a simulation, it's like, where's that fine line that would actually make a distinction between the difference? What would be a distinction between a simulated universe and a real universe?
Well, yeah, for me, I think we live in reality. People do, but I think they simulate the outer space. So that's why when Dr. James Gates digs down to the bottom, he finds the ones and zeros at the basement of the universe. But they think that when they find that, it means something different. They should just realize that what they're figuring out is that space has been fabricated mathematically, not life, not Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that totally. Absolutely. So, and again, when you go back to that and you can keep working that back, and, when you get to the point of understanding that all of our sensory inputs, everything that we perceive as quote unquote reality, is nothing more than electrical signals being interpreted by the brain, then it's like that even opens up a whole nother level to what is reality, right? And, it makes me think of some of the scientific experiments that they've done where they will, kind of crack open some guy's head and they'll stimulate areas of the brain, and the guy will be absolutely swearing that he is having this very real experience, that is no different from absolute reality to him. And all they're doing is just stimulating a part of the brain. So, that's why I've always wondered, what is reality? What is it really about? And that's a multi-faceted question, I think, for sure. So there we go. All right, cool. All right. So, let's see here. I'm trying to figure out if I want to have you do your visual effects presentation, or if maybe we should talk a little bit about let's do the vacuum part of it first, because then I'll cut off the YouTube side and we'll go over to Rokfin and do that. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay. All right. So 1834. All right, cool. So, all right, guys, what this is this is actually a video that I pulled off of the Globebusters 24/7. And I thought it was good because, it went back to a video that started out with a video that Jeran made, and it kind of went one place to another. Jeran made a video about a Nathan Oakland video that was about this guy named Wiggles, who could not seem to grasp the idea of what was going on with pressure, right? And what would happen if it went from a pressurized environment to an unpressurized environment. And he kept asking the stupid question, well, don't you think the physicist would know that? And of course, Nathan is losing his mind going, yes, they do know that. He dug up the clip, and we have the clip. It's all in here and stuff. But I just thought it would be interesting to touch on again today, because when you start thinking about the constructs that are necessary to support structures in space, and not just the structures in space. And well, actually, when I say structures in space, I'm talking about withstanding tens of thousands, if not millions of pounds per square yard or meter, going up to who knows how high, for these large structures, right? So when you have something like the International Space Station, which is allegedly pressurized at a full 760 torr, or 1 bar, or 14.7 psi, and you have that against a 10 to the negative 17 torr, the pressure differential is so unfreaking believable, like millions and millions and millions of orders to magnitude higher than what we can create here on planet Earth in the Sandusky vacuum facility, right? And the thing that's interesting about the Sandusky vacuum facility is, if we actually bring that up, oops, what did I do here? Let me get the right screen up. And there we go. All right, so if we look at the Sandusky facility and you start looking at the specifications of this, right? It talks about how the construction of this thing, had to be made to be able to withstand those types of pressure differentials. And mind you, guys, this is not even flying through space at 17,500 miles per hour and having to endure those type of stresses that would be going on with it as it orbits around the Earth, right? No. This is just sitting on the ground, and yet it has to have a 8-foot thick concrete and steel infrastructure to be able to keep it from collapsing, right? From imploding, right? So if they need that to be able to hold back the atmosphere of 14.7, let's just give Sandusky 14.7, whatever it is, and it is capable of generating only a 10 to the negative 6 torr vacuum, which is millions of orders of magnitude, I don't know if I want to say more or less, but different than a 10 to the negative 17 torr, then how in the world is it that, the ISS can withstand millions of times more pressure differential and only have less than an 1/8-inch thick skin made out of steel or aluminum or whatever, right? I think that to anybody with any common sense whatsoever should tell you point blank that it's not possible. Okay, it's just not possible. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to this.
What about the LEM though? The LEM, it was pretty thick on the outside. You could put your finger through it. It was like tinfoil.
Yeah. Oh, God.
By the way, I am here, you guys. I am here, you guys. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are, John. Yeah, we hear you. So we're just talking about the impossibility. I said we're just talking about the impossibility of these structures withstanding the pressure differentials in space vehicles. It's just silly. So, all right. So,
well, and what about the constant flux from day to night, right? So it
goes from
extreme hot to extreme cold every 45 minutes.
Yeah, and what is it? Minus 450
to expansion, contraction.
Yeah, minus 250 to positive 250 or whatever the hell it is. It's a huge extreme. Right. Yeah, and that's not even taking that into consideration either. And by the way, where specifically the ISS is, which is in the thermosphere area, it gets as high as 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which of course would melt any type of aluminum. Point blank, and it would certainly weaken it. I mean, there's just no way that structure could withstand any of this.
And then,
So
of course, you also have the if you've got something that's going from near boiling temperatures to beyond freezing temperatures, back and forth. I just don't see anything that's able to withstand that. But the question is, if you're in a vacuum, then how can you have high temperatures? Because I was under the impression that temperatures were essentially the subatomic or the atomic particles bouncing off each other and causing essentially friction on the micro level. But if you don't have any, stuff, if it's a vacuum, then I don't understand how you can even have high temperatures, because
well,
that just
the
goes
stuff,
against the actual definition of heat.
yeah, the stuff is the actual material that it's constructed of in the first place, right? That's the stuff. Because you have to remember, it's not the convective heat that the ISS needs to worry about. It's more the radiant type of heat, right? That's what's going to cause the problems. So, yeah, I mean, all very good questions, and all of them contribute to the idea that any type of structure that's up there, between vacuum seals, supposedly being able to go on forever, and when they do spring a leak, right, then all you have to do is stick your finger in it. It's like, guys, you want to read something gross, man. When there has been a breach in an airliner, and like one of those little windows gets broken or something like that, or like a fighter pilot, a missile or an arms round will pierce the skin of the plane, and literally it will suck a human body out of a hole, just a couple inches big, right? I mean, the amount of force is so incredible. I mean, and these are things that we can verify, we can actually see, and that these occurrences actually happen down here on plain Earth, right? So when you scale it up to what's actually going on in outer space, and they say that, oh, they just stick their finger in it, that is so absurd. It would have sucked them and everything in that thing right through that hole, blown it into outer space, and there would have been one hell of an implosion. Right?
Don't forget, though, they do have
Blessed
real
Revolution,
good
please.
engineering.
Yeah. So let's look at this. I want to look at this little video by Paul on the Plane at the beginning of this, and I'll make a few comments on it. But he created this. It's funny because he and I were like in sync back then. This was like 3 years ago. We were both doing, this big expose on pressure and everything. And it's just funny the timing that it came out on. So let's go ahead and watch this. And it's going to talk about the trains imploding and stuff like that. And again, ballers, yes, we know the trains that are imploding. We understand that is an implosive force, and they were designed more for an explosive force. But the idea is to kind of get a point across here. But the math is not going to lie on this. And if you don't trust the math, then you have to trust the engineering that's going on at the Sandusky facility that is requiring 8-foot thick steel and concrete walls to be able to hold a measly 10 to the negative 6 torr vacuum away from a 14.7 psi vacuum, which again is millions of magnitudes of order away from a 10 to the negative 17 torr, right? Keep that in mind. And if you can explain how that's done, well, I got news for you. You're in line for a Nobel Prize for materials and strength. You're going to be a rock star. So
because math is reality.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and give this a watch. Here we go. By the way, guys, if you have not seen this Faking Space series, it is excellent. I'll try and get it posted up somewhere, or maybe Paul still has it.
Space. A void. The sheer absence of matter creating a vacuum due to a very, 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 very low pressure environment. So we're told. However, we're also told that NASA successfully landed 12 men on the moon because its spacecrafts and spacesuits were able to withstand such a low pressure environment. Hello again, this is Paul on the Plane. Welcome to episode 3 here in our third season of Faking Space and our continuing analysis of the photos.
Okay, and one thing I want to say also, guys, is that takes us also back to the spacesuits, right? Now remember, NASA just had to cancel our mission to the moon again. Why? Because of some technical problems that they're having with the spacesuits. It's like, really? Isn't that interesting? Considering 60 years ago we were able to make them work, and now we have a technical discrepancy that is so severe it's going to cause an off-put of another 4 years, right? That's absurd. That's utterly ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense. And guys, here's one thing that you always have to keep in mind when you are watching these astronauts in these so-called spacesuits. They should be blown up like the Michelin tire man, right? Granted, it is only a 5 psi pressure environment against the astronaut's skin itself, and that is bare minimum, right? Apparently you go below that and you're starting to ask for trouble. So they have 5 psi.
The rigidity of the spacesuits, right? Because there was an episode of one of those shows on Discovery Channel, but they have essentially a really rather small vacuum chamber that's, I don't know, 3 feet tall by 3 feet wide by 3 feet deep. So just like a box with plexiglass walls. And then one of those gloves that's attached to the wall of the vacuum chamber, but you can reach into the chamber within the glove. And that glove is like mimicking the materials and the stitching of the astronaut suit. And the guy is just barely able to even move his arm and barely wiggle his fingers just because of the pressure differential. And it's, like you said, like a Michelin man. And that is what his arm looks like. And
exactly.
Yet the astronauts in space have no problem at all doing like all kinds of motion, which doesn't stack up.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And by the way, that happened on 2 different occasions. The Action Lab, the guy in the Action Lab did that, where, he was virtually unable to move anything. And then, of course, our other favorite chills, Jamie and Adam, right? The Mythbusters did that, and they were sticking their hand in there. They couldn't hardly move anything. And again, they cannot even Mythbusters, yeah. And they can't, again, I can't stress this enough, guys. They cannot even come close to the pressure differential here on Earth with the Sandusky fired up at full power and their 5 psi spacesuits. They can't even come close to that, let alone what's going on out there in space. It would be so rigid, it would be literally like steel. There'd be no way you could even move. It would be impossible, point blank. So, and if you can't wrap your head around that,
Agreed.
I don't know what to say, So
agreed. Yeah, I totally agreed. And the Mythbusters, oh man, those guys they did a good job of proving me right. So thanks, Mythbusters.
Yeah.
They did it on accident, of course. They didn't do it intentionally.
Well, they've also turned right around, and in the same series, if you remember, John, I also covered one of their feats that they performed was they took an ordinary shop vacuum, right, which generates about a 20 kilopascal vacuum or 3 psi change in pressure differential. They took that, and by simply having the virtue of a really good seal, they were able to lift up a 3,000-pound car with the shop vac, right? So when you consider that 14.7 psi is like 11.4 million. See, it's 11.4 million tons, or no, a million pounds. I'll tell you in a minute when I look at it. And you're saying that the ISS has got this fantastic pressure differential all along the fuselage, that entire structure, everything. It would crush it so fast. it would explode so fast it wouldn't even be funny. There's no way that beer can could possibly hold it. But yeah, so they proved it. They're saying that all you have to have is a very low vacuum, and if you have a good seal, that vacuum, even if it's only 20 kilopascals or 3 psi, can literally rip apart thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. Remember that, John?
Unmuting. Yes, indeed I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, and actually part of that is in here, but let's go ahead and play this out, and let's hear Paul. Here we go.
Videos and information given to us by the world space agencies, showing conclusively their stories just don't add up. In this episode, Mr. Scott Henderson and I will explore what we're told by NASA about the lack of air pressure in so-called space, and analyze whether its own equipment, such as the Apollo lunar module.
Hey, John, can you mute?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought I was.
And the astronaut spacesuits would actually survive. Mr. Henderson has invested more than 10,000 hours into researching the claims made by NASA as it relates to the Apollo program. So let's see if you come to the same conclusions we have. Let's start by covering a real-life example of the power of a vacuum due to one air pressure system being reduced adjacent to another air pressure system to kind of set the context here. The classic example, at least in my mind, is a railroad tanker car. You can search for and find many examples online of the structural integrity of a tanker car failing when the air pressure inside is reduced, which eventually subjects the walls of the tanker car to levels of pressure it cannot withstand on the outside of the tank, and it implodes in a thrilling fashion. Some tanker cars are made of aluminum.
And mind you guys, that was done with a mere 3 psi of atmospheric pressure differential. A mere 3 psi. It just crushed it like a bug. Let's continue.
Some are made of steel, and they fail rather dramatically when the air pressure inside is reduced to a point where the air pressure inside the tank is not strong enough to withhold the force of the air pressure pushing against the outside of the tank. The key to grasping this is understanding what I refer to as back pressure, or the lack thereof. Let me illustrate further. In an episode of the popular science show Mythbusters, Adam and Jamie collapsed a steel train tanker car by lowering the air pressure inside the tank down to 3.4 pounds per square inch, or psi, meaning they had increased the outside pressure pushing against the walls of the tanker to 11.3 psi, which equates to about 1,600 pounds per square foot of external pressure over the entire outside of the tank. Now, those numbers are derived from the fact that at sea level we experience approximately 14.7 psi. So before some of the air was vacuumed out of the tanker car, there was approximately 14.7 psi pushing on both the inside and the outside of the tank. But as the air pressure was reduced inside to 3.4 psi, about a 75% vacuum, that meant there was a difference, or negative pressure as some call it, of 11.3 pounds per square inch, which equates to more than 8 tons per square meter crushing into the tank externally on all sides, and it simply could not withstand it. And bam! Did you know that 14.7 psi equates to approximately 10 tons of force?
Okay, and actually that's not quite right, but it's very close. 14.7 psi actually equates to 11.4 tons per square meter, which, again, when you apply that along the square footage or the square meterage along the ISS, and you add those numbers up, oh my God, the weight, the pressure that the ISS is under for having a less than a quarter of an inch steel or aluminum or whatever the hell it is. It's got some steel composite in it, but there's no way. It's like expecting to have an elephant step on a beer can and it not crush it, right? It's simply not possible for it not to crush it the way that it is. And the same then carries forward logically to any spacecraft that goes out there, whether it is the the ISS or any of the space stations or any of the shuttles or Elon Musk's pile of junk that he's sending out there, none of it has the structural capacity to be able to withstand such fantastic pressures. They just don't. And not only, it's not even by a little bit, guys. It's like it's not even in the same universe. It is so far away from it that the case can't even be made within an order of magnitude of 1,000,000 times. There's no way. It's just not possible. It's as simple as that. So let's continue.
And real quick, they make it a point, and I thought this was interesting, that they do not train the astronauts in vacuum either, which I thought was interesting because they should. I mean, I reckon they should, but they just don't. They don't train them in that sort of environment, which I don't know.
They don't, and it's pointless.
Did everybody else think they did? I mean, I just assumed it.
No, they tried it, and the first time they tried it, of course, they had a small malfunction, and the guy's water on his tongue started boiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, he damn near died as a result of it because, it literally, all you have to do is be subjected to these so-called space level, extreme high vacuum tours for a few seconds, and your blood will literally boil. And, you can't take much of that before you're dead, right?
Yeah, but that would be a neat trick at parties, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. Let's continue.
For every square meter, but, you may ask, how do we survive as humans with such a force applied externally to our bodies in all directions? Well, it's simple. There's 14.7 psi of back pressure, too. A perfect state of equilibrium. And this is the important point. Now, let's go to so-called space.
And when he says that, guy, 14.7 on the outside, 14.7 on the inside. Now, this is also why, like, if you have ever been scuba diving, right? You go scuba diving and you go down and you're below a certain level down in the water, which, of course, has a much, much, much higher compression rate, much higher PSI compression that's compressing on your body than 14.7. The problem is if you do not allow, if you do not come up slowly, right, from that and equalize slowly into the 14.7 vacuum as you rise through the water, then you get what's called the bends or a nitrogen type of deficiency problem. And it can either kill you or be very, very unpleasant to say the least, right? So these pressure differentials are not something you want to mess around with, let alone, put on a daily circus show in the ISS, defying death at every turn, like it just doesn't matter. And the only reason they do that is because it just doesn't matter to them, because all of those things are being shot indoors. They're being shot with virtual reality. They're being shot in a swimming pool. And there's just no way that those pressure differentials can even be created, let alone anything or anybody existing in them. So let's continue.
And apply these concepts that are observable, testable, repeatable here on Earth. When we talk in terms of space, the most common scale used is Torr, and it's expressed as 10 to a negative number, meaning there are a bunch of zeros after the decimal point before you get to the numbers. At sea level, 14.7 psi equates to 760 torr. And if you could achieve a perfect vacuum, which is not attainable, 100% vacuum, it would be considered 0 psi. Now bear with me here, as it's important to understand the conversion from psi to torr, and then back again to put it in terms that we are accustomed to.
And this is huge, guys, because this is where the trick is, right? This is where the mathematical trick is, because again, as we said before, we have idiots like Wolfie out there that will try and tell you that, oh, well, I can go and put 60 pounds of air in my tire versus 30 pounds and it doesn't pop or anything like that and everything's cool. Therefore, by that same logical thinking, I should be able to cut that in half or, change it, whatever, and it shouldn't ever make any difference. Well, yeah, that's nice, except for because the idea that this torr function is an exponential or more or less a logarithmic type of function, it is not linear based, right? So that's where the trick is. And again, like I said, all you have to know to know that what we're saying is true is that if you're going to, go along with Wolfie and say that it's okay to double those pressures up and things like a tire, and not have any problem with it, and then try and convert that logic to outside thinking, well, then you just try it and put your life on the line once with it, right? You're going to find that implosion will happen really, really quickly and long before any of those pressure differential levels are reached, supposedly in the outskirts of space. Let's continue.
In order to fully understand how strong the negative pressure would be in space, that again is if space exists as we are told it is. To crush the tanker car, the air pressure was reduced from 760 torr to 176 torr. That is 14.7 psi down to 3.4 psi inside the tank. The Kármán line, as it is called, is considered to be the boundary into outer space from Earth, and it exists at approximately 62 miles or 100 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. At this altitude, we are told the air pressure is 10 to the negative 3 torr. That equals just 0.000002 psi. Up to the Kármán line, the environment there is classified as a quote-unquote low vacuum. So, if we were in a capsule of sorts at 62 miles above the surface of the Earth, we are told that the air pressure being applied to the outside of the capsule is down to just 0.000002 psi. But the pressure inside the capsule, if we took off from sea level, like most rockets do, would again be 10 tons per square meter. How do you think the capsule we are in would be able to withstand 10 tons of pressure per square meter on the inside of the capsule walls trying to get out with just 0.000002 psi of back pressure? Do you see where I'm going with this? And this is only at 62 miles above the Earth. From 10 to the negative 3 torr to 10 to the negative 9 torr is classified as a quote-unquote high vacuum. And the scale is not linear, it's exponential or even logarithmic. The largest and most powerful vacuum chamber in the world is located at NASA's Glenn Research Center in Sandusky, Ohio. According to NASA, their massive vacuum chamber has the capability to reduce the air pressure down to 10 to the negative 6 torr.
Right. And look at the construction of that, guys. Look at that. That is insane. Again, 8-foot thick steel and concrete walls for a mere 10 to the negative 6th torr? Wow. If that's what it takes for a 10 to the negative 6 torr, then by following that line of reasoning, that logic of that thinking, then I would say it would be reasonable to say that it would require a 20-foot thick steel and concrete structure to be able to withstand the pressure differential between 14.7 psi and 10 to the negative 17th torr. I'm sure the vacuum engineers, the high power vacuum engineers, would agree. Let's continue.
Which is 1,000 times stronger of a vacuum than 10 to the minus 3 torr at the Kármán line. And it takes many hours to pump the air out to get down to 10 to the negative 6 torr, and the facility has 6 to 8 foot concrete walls reinforced with a leak-proof steel containment barrier built in so that the concrete dust and no air can be sucked through the walls and into the chamber itself and ruin the vacuum they are trying to create. If you were able to reduce the air pressure further inside a chamber, then you are getting into the quote-unquote ultra-high vacuum classification. This is 10 to the negative 9 torr and above, which is approaching the level of vacuum we are told exists on the surface of the moon, which is an astonishing 10 to the negative 11 torr, which is the numbers 100 million times stronger of a vacuum than the Kármán line. Now,
right. And remember, guys, we have astronaut testimony directly from themselves saying that there were basically 3 or 4 sheets that were about the same thickness of Reynolds wrap aluminum foil, right? Along with a couple of sheets of Mylar. And if they weren't careful, if they had something sharp in their pocket, they would literally poke a hole right through the mylar and the aluminum foil, and it would completely damage the spacecraft. Do you see why we look at ballers? And when you guys cannot comprehend what that means, why we laugh at you, and why we think it's like, are you out of your freaking mind? You cannot see that? That the sheer impossibility, it would take something thousands of times thicker, thousands and thousands of times thicker and more structurally supportive to be able to pull off just the pressure differential. We're not even talking about any torsional stresses that are required by, 17,000, 18,000 mile an hour accelerations, 6G, 8G accelerate. I mean, come on. So you have not only there's the pressure differentials, but then you have all these other type of torsion stresses, right? And if you cannot see the problem here, then you are truly blind. You are truly, truly blind. Let's continue.
Those numbers were given, but perhaps those are just estimates, since we've never been there and can't simulate that here on Earth. Some interesting notes about the Glenn Research Facility, which we are told is able to simulate 10 to the minus 6 torr, still 100,000 times weaker than the surface of the moon, was built in 1969, the same year Apollo 11 allegedly achieved putting 2 men on the surface of the moon. But if you really dig to find out when the world's largest vacuum chamber was first open, you'll find out it was actually in October 1969, 3 months after Neil and Buzz allegedly walked on the moon.
Unbelievable. And so obviously the spacesuit test came many, many months after that. So what they're saying, guys, is that they went out into space in the Apollo missions, went to the moon 6 times, right? Or 5 times.
What if they moonwalked in Jersey? Does that count?
So yeah, but I mean, yeah. So they went to the moon supposedly all this time without having any actual test data of how these spacesuits, or anything else for that matter, would respond in these high vacuum situations. I mean, it's utterly laughable what you NASA fanboys believe in. It really is. I mean, the stupidity is just, you should be ashamed of yourself. You really should. And I don't mean to resort to shaming, but goddamn, you're dumb. All right, let's continue.
And even then, we are told the vacuum on the surface of the moon is 100,000 times stronger than what even NASA's best vacuum chamber could achieve. Once you reach even the quote-unquote high vacuum classification, this is what we are told the Glenn Research Facility can achieve, 10 to the negative 6 torr. You need vacuum seals like these, on the left, which are metal and comprised of one-time use materials. They are needed to seal in a high vacuum area. On the right are the helmets seals of the Apollo missions. The latch fits in the groove for easy installation. The connection does not have the capability to compress the seal and logically would not function even in a low vacuum. The gloves of the spacesuits have a similar type for an easy connection. The surface of the seals must also be virtually perfectly clean and free of foreign materials for the seal to even be effective, or it will fail under such a low-pressure environment. The Apollo astronauts using the same suits covered in dirt.
I love when they say the word foreign materials. I don't know. It just makes me visualize, like, I don't know.
All right. Yeah, no doubt. But John,
a molecule with a French accent or something.
Yep. But John, tell me, man, what happens when you get a leak in the spacecraft?
Well, then you have a leak. Back-a-doodle-doo.
You have a leak, and you might have to do a spacewalk. And
don't worry about it, because we got real good engineering.
Yeah, totally.
We got a workbook or something somewhere around here.
Now we know why he's an astronaut and not an English professor. I mean, it's not like we would want to give him anything important to do.
Remember, they interview 4,000 people and only pick the best one, so he's the best out of 4,000 out.
Could you imagine the absolute slackers that the rest of the applicants, like, what did they come in there like smoking crack like during the whole thing? I just don't see how you could do worse than Don Pettit on an interview.
Hunter Biden, one of them. I don't know who else.
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's one of them, yes.
I mean, it is utterly pathetic. I mean, and like I said, because they couldn't cut it even on a Navy ship, because on a Navy submarine, I guarantee you, even the cook knows what to do should there be a breach. There is a procedure. Every single man on that boat, their life depends on them knowing exactly what to do and not saying, "Oh, I guess you might have to do a ocean walk," or some stupid. It's just unbelievable.
They probably have a drill. Imagine that. That you have to do once every 2 months to simulate some sort of emergency. But the ISS, they have a procedure.
Yeah, yeah, and we've never seen any drills ever run on the ISS for any type of, except for that one where they take those phony, gloves, right, that they're wearing. That
maybe they do like a thought experiment, like Einstein did with experiments. So they just do thought safety drills, where you just do the safety drill in your mind.
Yeah, something. But one thing's for sure, they don't have any real world procedures. And like I said, you NASA fanboys, you buy into all of this with no evidence whatsoever. Man, are you dumb? Man, are you dumb?
I'm just going to come out and admit it, and I'm not the only one on this panel. I know it, but I'm wearing my NASA underwear right now. It's the tighty whities.
All right, let's continue on.
Not really. Not really.
They're probably so tight. Because I think they're meant for 4-year-old boys.
Yeah.
No, actually, they were form fitted for Don Pettit.
4-year-old boys. All right, I got it.
Awesome. All right, let's continue.
EVAs, it would be impossible for the suits to work and reseal multiple times. The same is true for the hatch for the lunar module, as they had to crawl through, dragging dust and dirt with them. The door seals would not be functional. The LEM could not be pressurized after re-entry. In this,
that's something that nobody ever really talks about either, is that super fine gray dust, whatever the hell they call it. I forgot what they call it. Regolith, or I don't remember what it's called, but I mean, that stuff would absolutely wreak havoc with any type of seal, right? They wouldn't be able to get anything to seal after 2 minutes in that stuff. You know what I mean? But, like everything else, they're just hoping that nobody's going to pay any attention to that and just, forget about it. And I think, honestly, it may be a good idea to have another vacuum expert on to talk about how stringent these, specifications are to be able to withstand, vacuums, even for 10 to the negative 6 torr, even for what we can reproduce here on Earth. How incredibly stringent the engineering specifications must be, and how much of a joke it is when you go to NASA and you watch what they do. So, yeah, I think that'd be a real good guest to have on at some point. But let's continue on.
This image here on the left are examples of seals used to, again, contain a vacuum. On the right is Neil Armstrong's glove. The connection that holds the glove to the suit are just like a door latch that pushes out into a channel. They do not compress the seal between the metal. This design is for an easier way of putting the suit on and off during practice, and of course, simulations. This connection, however, would not even hold a small amount of pressure. The fact that the LEM did not have an airlock means that any container within the craft had to be designed to withstand the vacuum of space, which we are told, again, was 10 to the negative 11 torr. This is a complete error in simulation, NASA. The food pouches would explode as the aircraft depressurized, as well as the urine bags and feces in the jettison bag. Any other containers within the craft for air or for water would be subjected to the vacuum of space and would suffer the same consequences, and probably pretty dramatically. Here is a typical NASA fanboy or fangirl explanation, however, of why the ultra-high vacuum of space isn't a big deal. That when you walk out into space in your spacesuit, it will want to expand. But how strong is that pressure? It's only 1 atmosphere, so not that strong. They're specifically designed to keep the suit from ballooning out.
Right. So obviously, why in the world would we need 8-foot thick concrete and steel structures here on Earth at the Sandusky facility, right? You know what? Yeah. NASA fanboys and girls, your explanation is not carrying the weight. Sorry.
it's hard to be NASA. So I would imagine that's what it is.
Yep. And again, like I said, that's not even counting the torsion stresses from spaceflight itself, right? From the stresses of rockets and all this stuff. I mean, you cannot ever, ever, ever forget all of these things. And any good engineering takes everything into consideration and then overbuilds for it, right? This stuff couldn't make it on its best day to 1/100th the specifications required to be able to have any vehicle out in space. And again, like I said, fanboys, if you believe this explanation here, oh, it doesn't matter, it's only one atmosphere, then you've obviously missed the whole point. But let's continue.
And that, folks, is where the deception lies.
Indeed.
This is the type of statement that NASA gives when describing the vacuum of space. NASA tells us that the air pressure on the surface of the moon is 10 to the negative 11 torr, however. And this equates to nearly negative 2 billion psi, because there is almost no back pressure at all. Not the 14 psi you will see in the comments of many videos on this subject. Do the conversion yourself, people. 10 to the negative 11 torr equates to negative pressure of 131 million atmospheres. To further illustrate this point, I corresponded with a company who specializes in vacuum lifting after seeing one of their promo videos. The representative who emailed me back stated that they can achieve 25 tons of lift by creating roughly an 80% vacuum, 165 torr, between their lifting pads and the massive pipe here as an example. That is near the level of vacuum achieved that collapses train tanker cars. That negative pressure uses the fact that the air outside of the pipe, especially underneath it, is pushing or pulling so hard in an attempt to get into the little space between the lifter and the pipe that it can achieve 25 tons of lift. Are you starting to understand the amount of force that the inside of the spacesuits and spacecrafts that NASA built would have to withstand to maintain integrity? One final point. Have you heard of the Apollo rock box? It's an aluminum case that the rock samples the Apollo astronauts collected on the moon were stored in for the trip home and to be opened here on Earth. We are told that the lunar atmosphere was preserved inside this aluminum box. Again, 10 to the negative 11 torr. I guess these rock boxes are stronger than steel tanker cars and stronger than the Glenn Research Facility walls by hundreds of thousands of times. And if you think the lunar module, made of a few layers of aluminum, is stronger than the Glenn Research Center vacuum chamber, and if you think the Apollo spacesuits remain flexible at 10 to the negative 11 torr and is stronger than this building, 100,000 times stronger it would have to be, then you've been successfully indoctrinated.
Amen.
The only thing NASA has sent to space, people, is your imagination. On behalf of Scott Henderson, this has been Paul on the Plane.
Excellent. So there you have it, guys. Again, like I said, I thought it was amazing that Paul and I were both on the same, trip about vacuums about 3 years ago. And, that's really all you need to know, guys. And if you don't study anything else, just study this. In fact, I actually have some fantastic high vacuum facility information as far as engineering and stuff. And I will make those available on a Google Drive for people to go through. It's really not that difficult to understand, but what it does make abundantly clear is the power that is represented by high differential vacuums, right? High pressure differentials. Like I said, to say that it represents lifting power into the thousands of the tons is not unrealistic at all. It's absolutely true. And if you were to ever subject a beer can like the ISS to something like that, it would absolutely shred it or implode it flat as a pancake, one of the two, depending on which way you're running the pressure. It's absolutely amazing. So I will make that available. But if there's nothing else that you don't take away, or that you take away from Flat Earth, just think about that for a while. And then that tells you right then and there that NASA is faking all of this. And then let your mind go a little bit. Try and figure out why they would do that. But the bottom line is if they are doing that, and they are, then we've got a problem, folks. And it's no reason, it's not hard to understand why things in the world are going the way that they are right now. So there you have it. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close down.
Can I complement a few things?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, Hiro.
Presentation. Let me just, because, a few things came to my mind, and let me just share the screen just 10 minutes, no more than that.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Allow me. But just because I like to, think about a few things every time that we're trying to explain the vacuum of space. And especially when we're trying to, put in our heads how an astronaut suit works in that condition. Because I don't know if you remind the Alan Eustace, I don't know how to pronounce that surname.
Eustace?
Yeah, this guy has the record of a high jump in terms of the jump from the highest point in the stratosphere, more than the Felix Van Garner. He's a guy that works in Google until 2015, and then he becomes like he keep working as a computer scientist, but he get obsessed in terms to be an astronaut or some kind of astronaut. So he jump like, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 more kilometers high than the Felix Van Garner, but he didn't receive a lot of press like the Felix Van Garner jump. And something that was amazed me, it's that he explained how the importance of the suit that he used to be up there. And I have just 2 minutes for the engineering director for the suit, but the idea is to present to the people, trying to think, if you take a look at this complete talk that he gives, of course, inside of the NASA place, hangar or whatever, you can see in the back the space shuttle. But the thing is that it's so different, the way, every time that you put a real human life in danger, this type of training and design and test, they are really pushed hard into the test part or test phase, because you are leading with real life. And if you try to compare this type of attitude in that sense with the astronaut that they only go down in the swimming pool and then go into space, it's something that at least you need to think about it. That is the idea, to put just these 3 minutes, if you allow me.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
Turns out that it is possible to explore the stratosphere, and here's how you do it. And to explain this, I'm going to bring up one of my lead engineers and close friend, Jared Leidek, and he will talk you through.
First of all, he only goes to the stratosphere, not even close to the karma line, not even close to space. And the suit is so different than the astronaut. He cannot even move to compensate the pressure, the lower pressure at that high, which is just 10% of the ISS or something. You don't even think in terms of being in the moon.
Yeah, it's a long ways away.
Exactly.
What you need to survive in the stratosphere.
Hello. So what you're looking at here is the suit that the team built to take Alan up into the stratosphere. We like to think of the suit as having 3 major pieces. The first one is the actual suit itself. And that's kind of like a thick pair of rubber coveralls, but that goes over everything, and it's airtight. So that thing can hold pressure and won't let anything that's inside of it out and won't let anything that's outside of it in. In front, that's our life support pack. So that sat on the front of the suit. It was literally bolted onto the front of the suit, and that included oxygen tanks, a heating system. So we ran a liquid heating, and it was heated up in there, and then all of our computer and communication systems and a display panel that went on the top of that chest pack that Alan can see. And then the last part of it, important part, that backpack-looking thing is his parachutes. So there's kind of three pieces to the parachute. One of them is a drogue or a stabilizing parachute that we'll talk about later that is there to help make sure that Alan doesn't spin or tumble. And then two main parachutes. So those come out real low to the ground after this really fast skydive. And those are really much bigger than the drogue parachute, and those slow Alan down before he touches down on the ground.
And now take a
So
look
what do you do with this
the temperature. Just the
So I want to go through some of the little elements here, and Jared and I can do this together. So the first question is, I'm wearing an oxygen mask, but this bubble around me is 100% oxygen.
That's water.
This part I'm going to skip forward, but he talked about that he has this rubber layer attached to the neck because every time that he
hang on a sec. John, can you mute? We're hearing you again. We're hearing Mina.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure why it keeps doing that, but I will do it. I do apologize.
All right. Continue, Ro. Sorry.
So no, he talks about that every time he breathes out, of course, they have the risk to blur the glass of the helmet and also to breathe his own carbon dioxide. So they use this mask just to throw inside of the suit those residual components of your own body. And what I'm trying, the thing that I like to just pointing out is when he talks about the lower temperature, I think is around here.
Okay, so next, the question is about temperature and about pressure. And for that, I'm going to go back to Jared. He's going to talk about how you test for really cold environments with this suit.
Yeah, so this suit...
Again, take into consideration, first of all, I don't know why they don't maybe share knowledge or database from the experience of NASA to do this, because after all, I don't know, maybe you can just share the information how you build astronaut suit before do all these that you're going to see in a moment. But then,
well, they're not even going to know that for another 4 years, though. They had to put off the moon landings because of it.
Well, they could, start sharing things, and then take a look at how much things they do to test with a real life involved.
When it was used, started on the ground in the first layer of the atmosphere we call the troposphere. That's basically where all normal aviation things happen. That goes from sea level all the way to about 70,000 feet, depending on the area and the day. What happens at 70,000 feet is you hit a place that's called the tropopause, and that's the coldest part of the atmosphere. The coldest temperature we saw at any time during the program was negative 108 degrees Fahrenheit.
And again, I like to think in this with this lower temperature. This is not a half, but 40% of the absolute zero.
Yeah, I was going to say that the rocket picked up a lot lower. It actually was picking up absolute zero if we are to trust the Go Fast thermometer, right? Yeah.
But this is for me at least is a confirmation type of projection, because this is halfway to where the rocket showed that temperature. Remember that the rocket showed that temperature to 120 kilometers in the atmosphere, and this is just 30 kilometers in the atmosphere, and they reach this lower temperature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Extremely cold. And that's the environment that's outside the suit. So that, of course, causes all sorts of problems. The first of which, Alan would get too cold, and we needed to build systems to defend against that. So we built a liquid heating system that ran fluid around Alan's body that was heated in the life support pack. So testing is obviously a huge element of this, and to test this system in a cost-effective way, we split the problem essentially into two parts. One of them being you've got this problem with the air, there being no air outside of him being in a vacuum. And we dealt with that using a vacuum chamber. And then the other part of it is that it's extremely cold, and we dealt with that using a cold chamber. So this box...
But they never show the part of the vacuum chamber. They only show the cold chamber, which is just essentially is a box filled up with nitrogen and, trying to simulate the lower temperature. And, if you want to take a look, maybe you can add that into the comment section. Here is a picture, a wonderful picture of the 30 kilometers, no, not 30, 38 kilometers up there in the
Using my
atmosphere.
leg.
And maybe you can see that it's pretty flat. And also the camera is a little wide angle lens. So if you correct this, it's going to be very, very flat in terms of the shape of our Earth. But what I want to point it out is the difference between, when you go with real life against when maybe you know that you are going to lie and you're going to do more visual effect tricks than going up into space. And, once more, I don't know exactly what happened up there because, for example, when they start talking about, the helium balloon and how much cubic meters they use to fill the balloon with helium and things like that, of course, they are talking that the balloon expands until it reaches an equilibrium because this is a super pressure balloon. So this is not going to explode at that altitude. But of course, the pressure differential up there is very strong. So I don't know how NASA could survive with that, suit in comparison with this that only goes 30 kilometers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like night and day. I mean, it's a whole another engineering, just to even do anything even close to Earth or at relatively low pressure differentials. And, and without any testing whatsoever, obviously the Sandusky facility wasn't even in existence until 3 months after the Apollo missions had concluded, right? Or started, one of the two. I don't remember which one it was. But regardless, the suits were never tested in it. And the one time that we were told that they were, it was a spectacular failure, and we never heard anything ever since then. Ever since the guy damn near died after his saliva on his tongue started boiling and he passed out right there. There's footage of it. I mean, it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. So this is the spacesuit and the spaceship all at once. And if you take a look and you heard the presentation, they talk about all the pre-preparation before going up, how many hours they need to breathe only oxygen and all the tests that they must be do, and then you see the rest of the astronaut going up into space, and it's a circus. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I've been sitting here trying to find the Mythbusters shop vac experiment, and ironically, it appears that they have either removed it or something. I do have a copy of it, but it's like unbelievable. But I'm going to try and find it and maybe stick it in with the show notes, because that's important. If you can lift up a car of over 3,000 pounds with nothing more than a standard shop vac that generates a 20 kilopascal vacuum pressure or differential, whatever, then that should tell you a lot about the power of the vacuum, but
yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, no doubt. But so it's just crazy, but I'll see if I can find that. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead
I have here very quickly, maybe this is something that you can take a look very quickly about what you are talking about. I don't know if something that is proper to compare, but here you have just a globe put inside of a tiny box and trying to reach, percentage of the supposedly vacuum space. And of course, the guy is going to talk, he puts his own hand and start create the vacuum itself. Let me just skip forward. Here you can see the hand. The beginning he can move that, but then when start reaching a very lower pressure, he cannot able to even move a finger. Can you hear the sound of the video?
No, I don't. You need to restart it with the video sharing.
Okay, let me just stop sharing and reshare again. 1 second. Here we go.
sunken in.
There we go.
Just is a vacuum. Use the design of
Can you turn it up at all, Euro?
30 inches to try this experiment.
There we go.
I'm sure we would see a different test result. So that's my input into a couple issues that I have with space and a vacuum. So hope you enjoyed the video. Leave any comments.
Okay, that's finished the video, and basically he trying to move the hand, and then he cannot move the finger with this regular glove, not even special ones or things like that. Just a regular glove. So you can imagine what they trying to do out in space, right? And then this is, I think, the video from the astronaut when they trying to. This is some of the tests in the vacuum chamber, and there is not any special thing. They just are hanging and not even close to vacuum. So this is an official video. Here you can see how they love to hang astronaut, but this is not. They are not doing anything special. So the only thing that they test an astronaut there, I think this is the video. No, this is a gas pressure different. So no, I don't have the astronaut video where they almost die in the vacuum chamber trying to.
Actually, I do have that one.
Sorry.
Okay.
If your ears pop, which mine do on a regular flight, I wonder what that's like on the ISS, or what would it be like? It'd probably be pretty terrific, huh?
It'd be like your cochlea coming out through your skull.
Right? Oh my goodness.
It would be bad. And my wonderful wife found the Mythbusters vacuum car lift mini myth video. So thank you, Cami. So let's watch that, guys. It's a little 4-minute video.
Can you share with us the image?
Oh, I can. It's going to cost extra though.
Okay, I pay. Janus pay.
Okay, cool. So we'll go.
We're not allowed to show it to Argentinians. Sorry, Iru.
Okay.
All right, guys. So this is the Mythbusters. Again, I'm just gonna, kind of give you a summary of it. Basically, with nothing more than a shop vac, which is 20 kilopascals, just a few psi of vacuum, they are able to lift a 3,000 pound car. Now, the only requirement is that you have to have a fantastic or a perfect seal. Well, that's one thing in space that you have to bet your life on, is that there has to be a perfect seal each and every time, because if there isn't, you're dead. It's as simple as that. Okay. So that we know we have in space, supposedly, right? According to their rules and their rhetoric. So now let's watch Adam and Jamie do this with the shop vac. Here we go.
There is a story that's been on our list for a long time. I've always wanted to test it. The myth is that a standard household vacuum cleaner has enough suction to lift a car.
Come on, baby!
Now, I figure that the trick to this is to make the mother of all attachments to increase the surface area of the vacuum cleaner's input.
And by the way, this is for fair use, YouTube, because you're probably going to try and strike me on it, but this is for fair use for educational purposes and for commentary that is directly relevant to our show today and is less than, 1% of the entire length of our video. So please do not strike us for this. Let's continue on.
So that the amount of suction I create exceeds the weight of the car, and thus I can get it off the ground.
So what you're trying to say is that as far as the attachment goes, size matters.
Indeed it does.
To find out if this impossible-sounding tall tale can be true, the guys are starting small, with a standard vacuum and hose trying to lift a 5-pound weight, which eventually it does.
Okay, so that's just barely enough to hold on to that 5 pounds. It is.
Right. So the reason, obviously, that it was not holding on to it is just because of the slight imperfections of the ribs, this texturing of this tape that's on here. That's all it takes, is just that much, and it completely negates the entire vacuum. So this is why when you look at what NASA is calling a seal, you have to laugh. You have to laugh and go, even the guy that designed the seal, right? When when what's his name was there, he said, they're still using your design for these seals for the ISS. And the guy looked at him like, you're kidding, right? You got to be joking. There's no freaking way that that's actually happening. Because he knew it was bullshit, and he knew that there was no way that it could ever withstand those type of pressure differentials.
This is like an O-ring that you would find in any sort of generic system that's pressurized. But man, you'd think that they would go above and beyond that for the ISS.
You would think.
Of course they wouldn't, because they're not actually doing what they're claiming, but it's something that would be easy to fake. But yet, I mean, we're talking like a 10-cent piece where if it fails, it kills everybody on the ship. I don't care what they say. You remember they had the little hole and it was just fine and there was no problems from it. It took them weeks to fix it and not a problem. They're so full of shit. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It is. And that little pinhole that they found that they basically accused the Russians of doing, that little pinhole would have drawn a human body through it. That's how much power is there, right? It's absurd that the guy says, yeah, I just stuck my finger on it. That is so ridiculous. And anybody that believes that, wow, are you dumb? That's all I can say. Let's continue on.
Our previous method was what we call the octopus arm method, and involved many different caps distributed across the whole of the car. And that turned out to be completely 100% wrong. So now we are going with a method we call the box method. I don't know how do we come up with these names, but it's just a gift we have. Instead of 40 points of failure, we now have three big, sturdy wooden boxes made out of plywood, sealed with a gasket between them and the car. We pull a vacuum from them with the manifolds. I think this is gonna work. We're gonna build some boxes. We're gonna lift this car.
These boxes are best to be thought of as the workers we are using to lift the car. So far here, all three boxes are saying, hell yeah, I can lift that car.
Well, to find out, it's back to Treasure Island for some predictable preparation.
Looks really nice.
First, the guys position the steel cradle above the car.
I think that looks good. It's right over the rear view mirror.
Then they add the boxes to the trunk.
A little more, a little top. Perfect.
Roof.
Yeah, that's tight.
And hood.
Nice.
Next, they secure the box.
Right, now one thing I also want to comment on, guys, is when they're talking about like a structure of the ISS out there in space, you wouldn't just have 3 points of contact like this. It would be every square inch of the ISS would be under this fantastic pressure differential. So if there is even the minutest of structural integrity problem, they're all dead. It's as simple as that. Let's continue.
Boxes to the cradle.
I think we're good.
With that, the guys bring in the crane.
That's good.
Before Adam adds the vital ingredient, the vacuum cleaner.
Starting the vacuum in 3, 2, 1.
But with the vacuum on, the news is good.
It's climbing.
It's climbing?
Yeah.
As the crane takes up the slack,
Come on, baby. Hold on to this car.
the car does start to rise.
Yes, it's off the ground. This freaking car is off the ground. This is amazing. Oh, dude, we are lifting a car with nothing but a single vacuum.
Remember, the crane is lifting the steel cradle.
Holy. There you go. That's about how we're feeling here.
But it's the vacuum cleaner on its own
This is every bit as satisfying as I was hoping it would be.
that's sucking the cradle to the car.
That is freaking awesome!
That is freaking awesome. I got to give them credit for that. That is absolutely freaking awesome. And guys, like I said, that little vacuum, that little shop vacuum represents maybe 1/1000th, maybe a billionth of the pressure differential that exists between a 10 to the negative 17 torr and a 14.7 psi or 760 torr vacuum differential. In other words, now you know why the Sandusky has to have 8-foot thick steel and concrete steel wall structures, because otherwise it would just rip anything else apart, right? Simple as that. The power in the vacuum is unbelievable. Now, when you start thinking about that and how, they say that it is gravity, right? Gravity that is supposedly holding the Earth's gases and everything, to Earth. That is so ridiculous, because gravity does not have not even anywhere near a trillionth of the power that the vacuum differential does. I mean, it's ridiculous, the number differentials that are here. Gravity it isn't even in the same universe, and yet they're trying to tell us that, oh yeah, just because of this buildup of an atmosphere, up to about 62 miles or so, that it eventually becomes too heavy for it to lift. And yet, it's so absurd, because it's not a matter of it becoming too heavy. How did it ever start that way in the first place? Right? I mean, there's just no possible way that the gravity.
Can you repeat the last? I didn't catch the last sort of example that you mentioned. If not, it's okay. I just wasn't. I wasn't following you there, Bob.
Oh,
and if I wasn't following you, then there's, as a rule of thumb, there's got to be
somebody else that didn't.
Percentage. Yeah, exactly. Well, law of averages.
Yeah, I was just saying that, basically the differential between the Earth gravity is supposedly being able to counteract the fantastic vacuum of space, right? There's no freaking way. I mean, there's like a billion orders of magnitude difference, and regardless of what they think, the atmosphere is made up of, it would still rip it off like it wasn't even there at all. Remember, the Earth's or the moon's supposed gravitational field, right? Supposedly, is able to lift up the oceans of the world, right? Supposedly, but yet we can't even detect that field whatsoever. And so, and they certainly can't detect it with any gravimeter or anything like that, which tells us one of two things, or one of a few different things. Either gravity isn't what they say it is, or it is nowhere near the power that they think it is, or everything that they told us about it is wrong. I'll let you make up your mind on that. But yeah, bottom line here is the vacuum is no match, or I should say gravity is no match for the vacuum, period. That's just the way it is, guys. So crazy stuff.
Well, I would say that the institution of science is beholden to and secondary to the institution of politics, right? So the guys in charge of the laws and that sort of thing are not exactly the same people when you're dealing with the lawmakers. I'm sorry, I keep on pulling my headset off my head, and I apologize for that. So carry on. Sorry, folks.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, you know what? We are kind of getting towards the end of the show. I'll probably just go ahead and wrap this up, because I only had I don't think I had much else on here. I wanted to play that, which we got. So I think that's probably all I had. Let me double check it here. Yep, it is pretty much. So unless you guys have anything, did you have any more that you wanted to present, or are you pretty much done with what you had?
I wanted to show you one thing, Bob. I sent to Austin this week Neil deGrasse's answer for why light can speed up when you send it through a water tank and it comes out the other side. Do you want to hear that?
Oh, God, yes, I want to hear that.
Yeah, I'll find out center.
Okay. Let me open up the chat window. You can just send me a link, or are you going to share it from there?
Yeah. No, I'll just
Okay.
send you a link. Austin and I had a pretty good laugh at it.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear this one. That ought to be pretty good. Well, I guess you guys on YouTube today get a free bonus show, so whatever. But I think next week it's going to be probably a Rokfin show only, because we really do need to commit to that. And it's hard sometimes to find a breaking point for this, but especially when it's good information for both audiences, both sides. And I apologize if I am not perfect in segregating the shows, because I never know what's going to come up, guys. So it may cut me a little slack. And, I'll certainly do my best to make it good with everybody. But, I do appreciate it. And I do want to say, let me go through while Jeran is looking for that.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
yes.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, now I am on my phone because my computer was hung out, and I'm trying to reconnect now with the computer. Sorry, because the last thing that I heard was a question about me, but no, I don't have anything else to share beside the meteor and things like that. If you want to do it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's cool. We'll just, hold off anything else for next week then. And
okay.
So let's read the tips after. Oh, okay.
I
All right. So,
and I just put the link in there above that.
Okay.
Because he's been doing these 1 hour. I'm sorry, not 1 hour, 1 minute short videos. Which, if you've watched the Jeranism show, I keep making fun of them because they're hilarious. But this one,
you want to know how it is.
Sorry, this one's funny, huh?
You tell me if this makes any sense to you at all.
Okay, I will. Let me back it up here, and then I'll start it. And here we go. Oops.
So you want to know how it is that light can speed up again after it emerges from a medium where the speed had dropped? Good question. Here's how that happens. It's because, in fact, the light never slowed down at all. What happens is when you go through a substance, the light has to navigate the atoms and molecules that are in that substance. And while light travels between the molecules and atoms, it's going at the speed of light. It's only when it gets absorbed and re-radiated, there's a time delay in that process. And that time delay adds up. And so when we step back, we say the light slowed down. Well, it didn't really slow down. It was still moving at the speed of light. Then it had to get absorbed and re-emitted, and it was moving at the speed of light. And this just continues coherently until it comes out the other side.
Oh, bullshit. That guys.
That's why lights get past brick walls, right?
Right. Yeah. So he's saying essentially that the energy is going through one atom to another atom, and during this time of absorption and re-emission, that there really is no speed differential. That's complete horseshit. Of course there is.
It'd be like I was telling Austin. It'd be like me driving my car 60 miles per hour and hitting a headwind and saying, somebody said, "Oh, we saw you slow down from 60 to 55," and I go, "No, actually, I went 60 the entire time. What happened was I was still traveling 60 miles per hour, but I was fighting through the wind at 60 miles per hour, and to you it looked like 55, but really, like they'd be like, no, speed is distance over time. You went less distance in time, therefore you went right. The reason we don't see the laser pop out the other side, well, we wouldn't really see that, but the reason it wouldn't pop out immediately if you were to have it in some sort of camera you could slow it down is because it's being slowed down, which is the definition of.
Yeah, this is another one of those bullshit frame of reference types of things, right? In the frame of reference of being absorbed, it's still absorbing at this speed, and then when it re-emits, it's still re-emitting at this speed. But when you look at the overall propagation, no, it's not changing speed at all. That is utterly ludicrous, Neil.
It didn't slow down. There was just a time delay.
Just a time delay.
The conservation of momentum, bro. It literally debunks the speed of light.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. But it does not debunk a rate of induction into the ether. But that's a whole nother thing that I doubt Neil even knows about.
So would you say this too then, that sound needs a medium. I was going to say, does sound travel the same speed all the time?
No.
I don't know what he's saying, because he's saying that just because there's a medium there, that doesn't actually slow it down.
No, the medium, whenever the medium changes, the speed of propagation through it changes. So in other words, if you go through water or a steel bar or air, they're all going to have different speed.
Not according to Neil.
Yeah, well, Neil's an idiot.
It's all the same speed. The atoms that it's navigating. Does it slow down as it goes through those atoms? Yes. Okay. Well, then the speed changes.
It's
wow.
not even a new concept. Like Tesla and people long before him, he was saying like that's how we know the background medium is like thousands of times more dense than the air, is because the efficacy of sound wave propagation. Right, it propagates more efficiently with a more dense medium. So the ether is significantly more dense than the air. Like this is not new. It's just inconvenient for them.
Yeah, exceedingly. God, I cannot believe. This must have come out right about the same time as these Michelle Thaler, dumbass 1 minute video things where they're making these absurd statements. But I think I'm going to keep an eye on those, Jeran. Those are classic. God, dumb.
Oh, he has so many of them that are just over the top ridiculous. He said he knows the answer to chicken and the egg. So we've all had that answer forever, or that question forever, right? What came first, chicken or egg? It's kind of one of those impossible ponderables. And he had the answer. He said, point simple, it was the egg came first, but it was laid by something you wouldn't call a chicken.
Wow. Do you guys think they watch our shows? Do you think they watch our shows and they're like, okay, put out a minute video. We got to rebut Globebusters research. We talk about how that debunks the speed of light all the time. And we talk about how they're ignoring the electric phenomenon and magnetism all the time. I swear, they watch flat earthers and they're like, okay, let's go make a piece.
You know what, Austin?
They correct their mistakes.
Yeah. One thing that Jeran and I have noticed for 6 years is after either we will assert something on Globebusters or he will assert something on Jeranism. And admittedly, it happens more on Jeranism even than it does on Globebusters. But there, within a short amount of time, will come some sort of a rebuttal to our assertions, right? Or a blatant change.
I count two, man. I count two.
To what?
Not only you and Jeran, okay?
Oh, yeah,
Argentina
okay.
people also matter. Okay?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's other people, but I'm just saying that yeah, we thought that for a long time, and maybe we're being big-headed or whatever, and we're just full of ourselves or something. But yeah, I think so too, Austin. I really do think that they're watching us.
I think that they've got this fooled with the number suppression, right? But like you watch the World Series and the announcers say that majority of the St. Louis Cardinals Major League Baseball team playing in the World Series are flat earthers. So who are they listening to? I mean, I'm not saying it's just Globebusters, right? I mean, you got Eddie Bravo on like really prominent platforms, but I'm just saying there's only so many. And I think they watch flat earthers and then they assert rebuttals. I'm not even like they are clearly, bro, because that's such an insufficient answer. It's because we ask unanswerable questions. So they just do.
They'd be better off ignoring it. They really would.
Exactly. They would, because
that was the dumbest answer I've ever heard. Nobody could explain that out in a way that's feasible, because what he's describing when he says it has to navigate the atoms in a slower fashion, that is what we're talking about. So the speed of light slows down. So you can't use that as the reason why it actually doesn't slow down. Well, it actually doesn't slow down. It's only navigating these at a different speed. Yeah, that's the fucking definition of, that's the definition of speed. It's navigating slower. It's going slower than it was before. So yeah, it's crazy. The funniest one though had to be the Stephen Hawking. The fact that the ALS website did not have him listed as a celebrity with ALS. And then I did a video about it, and 2 days later, he was included in the article on the ALS website.
I remember that.
So. Yeah, and I think they cannot ignore us, because when they do that, we make a lot of people to wake up. So at least they use that as a weapon against us, because if they live like a free will, we're going to conquer the science.
Basically, what they have to do then is attack our character. And, this is very well known. We're used to it, obviously. It sucks. It really does, guys, to have, people address you like that, talk about you like you are some sort of a retard moron from Mars. And, it does suck. But we also understand their methodology and why they do this. And, we know that when they have to resort to that level of character assassination, that we are under their skin, baby. We are under their skin in a big way. And that's what they have to resort to. Why? Because they can't resort to refuting the arguments. Nor can they do that with any flat earther, or not any, but most flat earthers. I mean, we have guys that are doing shows, all over the place that are literally destroying the ballers from the get-go. And they dare not mention us, because other people are going to go, wow, we got to go look at these guys. I think one of the biggest mistakes they made, honestly, was when they sent, when we did the Professor Dave rebuttal video, and then he, of course, did his rebuttal, which then got 10 million hits. All of a sudden, we started seeing a surge of traffic on our channel that was unbelievable. So it was like a fatal mistake, because not all of those people were Professor Dave fanboys. They were actually looking at it They weren't necessarily commenting and wanting to, express to us how smart they were and how stupid we are, but they were actually looking into it and were considering what we had to say. So that was a mistake. And now they don't even want to mention us specifically by name. It's very, very vague. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or not, but pretty interesting stuff.
Their tactic's very obvious, right? It's to create the illusion that we're in this little like nerdy, geeky fringe corner of the internet where we just argue with very small globe zealots, right? That's who watches us and responds to us. But the truth is that we ruffle the feathers of NASA, right, and the powers that shouldn't be. And so they want to create that illusion to the public, but it's very obvious that they're keeping an eye on the movement very, very closely. It's pretty hysterical. I mean, time will tell, though. Time will show. History will reflect what happens. So we just had to have comfort in that,
Yep, I completely agree, Austin. And like I said, the nastier they get, the more effective we know we are being. And I honestly do take solace in that, because when you are down, when your ammo is down to that's all you got left, well, you're losers. So anyway, getting back to the tips. Let me cover some of these really quick. Shane Beta says, could someone link the video with the inventor of the ISS seals? I've been looking for it, or what should I search for? Okay, so Shane, that was done by Destin, Smarter Every Day. And gosh, what was it under? It was done by Destin Smarter Every Day. So that's definitely the channel. And it's where he interviews Don Pettit. Do you have it?
Yeah. It's in my
Jeran?
save.
Oh, okay.
Find it, see if it's still on his site.
So yeah, Jeran's going to try and find it for you. And if so, we'll drop a link in there. But otherwise, it's on Smarter Every Days.
I tried that right now on Google. If you put Smarter Every Day and space, it's going to put that. Yeah, 7 holes in space station.
Well, it started out him interviewing Numbnuts, Don Pettit.
Here's the link, Bob. You can give it.
Oh, you got it? Okay. Let's see. Jeran is there. You got that? All right. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's let me do this. Copy video URL, and I'm going to link it. There you go, sir. Shane, it is now linked. Actually, I think it is. Let me make sure I did, because I'm on the tips only side. Did I do it right? Oh, come on. Yes. Okay, I got it. All right, cool. So there you have it. Now let's go up to the next one. Robert Vasafaris sent me another tip. Robert, by the way, Robert, I got your email, and I got to tell you, guy, I really, really appreciate you. You've been such a longtime supporter of us, and I was extremely interested in your email, and I'd love to hear more about it. I really would. Although I understand your hesitance in kind of going down that road. But, when I read your email, I just thought, wow, this is really genuine, and it was heartfelt, and I really appreciated it, Robert. So I wanted to let you know that. And one of these days, I'd love to talk to you just to, find out what your take on this stuff is, because, like I said, you've been a fantastic supporter of Jeranism and Globebusters. And like I said, your letter fascinated me. It really did. So very interested in that.
Talked to him a few times, Bob.
Have you really?
Yeah, we've talked on the phone a few times, and he's been a great supporter of mine, just a great guy, and people like that. If we had the whole world full of people like that, and I don't mean supporting, I mean just his mind and the way he thinks and the way that he sees the world, then all this garbage would be gone. Unfortunately, we've got psychopaths.
Yeah, unfortunately, agreed. So, all right. So anyway, I'd love to meet you someday, Robert. That would be awesome. And I definitely would love to talk to you on the phone someday at some point. So, all right. So Sopco sends us a tip and says, Globebusters crushes even harder than the negative pressure differential examples. Awesome. Thank you. No need to read. Love you guys. Thank you, Rico, for the tip. Loving the Matrix tune from Pete May. Great song and voice from Stupid. Phew. Good to hear Kai is okay from Claptrapism. And then let's see, Tom O sent us a, wow, nice tip. Thank you so much for that, Tom. Beautiful tip. Much appreciated, sir. And we really appreciate people like you that And big tippers, very nice. It's awesome, and it helps us in this channel and helps us keep doing the work that we
Bob,
do.
Any idea why I was looking at the 7 holes in the space station video, and I scrolled down just to see the comments, and the first comment is mine. It says, "Nice edit on the thumbnail, douchebag." So any idea why I said that to him? I wonder why he gives me strikes. I didn't know I wrote that to him. I just can't remember. I wonder what the thumbnail said originally that he edited.
I have no idea.
It's funny this time.
Very interesting. Okay, so let's see. Are we playing just the tips on this channel too from Ask a Son? Not sure I know exactly what that means, but whatever.
Bob doesn't watch my show. Can you tell? No, that's what my segment's called when I read the tips. It's called just the tips.
Okay. I gotcha. No, I do watch it, but God, Jeran, I don't know how you can put up so much content. I couldn't in a million years come up with that much content to put out. I don't know how you do it. It's just,
you mean the clips and stuff? That stuff's all old work.
Well, yeah, I know it is, but I mean, you have the ability to just sit there and, pick a subject and go on about it and actually make it sound interesting for hours. And I don't think I can do that. Or if I can, I don't, trust my ability in that. So I don't know. That's why I have you guys to help me out. Right. So anyway. All right, guys. So that's the tips and, another Sunday in the bag, and we will be back here on Wednesday. So I'm going to go around one last time and, see if anybody has anything else, and then we're going to call it a day. So, Austin, let's go around to you. Tell us what you got coming up and what's up next.
Okay, we are going to do some activism. I think we're going to go to Santa Barbara where the Black Swan observation was, and then we're going to hit like Orange County, San Diego. I'm going to go downtown Hollywood and find the moon, the moon little stars, the astronaut stars. Probably one more time, do some activism there, and then we're going to keep going south. So I'm going to map it all out because we're going to get back to South Carolina by the Flattoberfest, the 22nd or whatever. So we're going to actually have to map out the dates. So I haven't got finished mapping out yet, but I'm doing that. And then Cami and I are going to work on some more music, and we're planning on dropping a lot more music. And then I updated the logo, got a little intro. I'll be doing more laptop streams. So I'm going to start bringing a lot of content and get the tour back going. Just been a kind of hectic last few days, and then I've been dealing with court, and I got my Rushmore court date, and so I'm trying to get these affidavits taken care of. So blah blah blah. But yeah, so we'll have a lot more activism and stuff coming here pretty soon.
Excellent. That sounds great. I'm glad to hear it, and I'll try and get you over some more money for the tour to keep you going. And what you do is so appreciated, Austin. I cannot even tell you, how much it means, and it's just more valuable than I think many, many people could ever imagine. And I certainly see the value in it, and that's why I support it so wholeheartedly. So thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Excellent. All right, cool. So John TheMorgile, what do you got coming up, sir? You are muted. There you go.
Hello. There.
We got you. Yep.
Can you hear me? Great. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I've got a video I'm working on right now that is going to be, how would I sum this up in a word? Well, let me just read the title for you. I'll pull up, oh no, Vegas Pro Crash. Okay, so I guess I'll just have to explain it to you. Watch the video. I'm sitting here drawing a blank here. I spent like 10 hours making this, and I can't give you a summary. But so there's a video coming out on the TheMorgile channel on YouTube that's in the works now. And I should have that out maybe even today. And then I'm still trying to get out the next chapter in the 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And I'm having issues with rendering that. That's done. So that should be out very shortly as well. So check out YouTube and Facebook for links to those. And other than that, I had a good time. Sorry I was late to the show. I had some issues I had to deal with that were outside of my control. But sorry about that. And thanks to the live viewers for joining us. Love you guys. And we'll see you, I guess, maybe Wednesday, right?
Yep, absolutely. Sounds good.
All right.
All righty then. All right. So then let's move on over to Iru. And Iru, what you got coming up, sir? And anything good for us?
Well, I just get back from Barcelona, so I need to put a few things in order to share with the Spanish community, because we give a few talks in Barcelona, and we are making or we are growing the community quite a lot, because I'm start participating all Thursdays in a radio show in Barcelona that it's running on Twitch, and it has every time that they make a live stream, they reach like 100K. So we are start talking about things that it's more related with geopolitics and social engineering and protocols of the lead, but slowly we are introduced the flat earth topic that was like 4 weeks ago, and people get crazy in the nice way. And when I went to Barcelona, a lot of people from that audience came into the presentation. Then we make like a flat earth meet type of how you say, we make a beach. Yeah, no, like I want to say, like when you guys do like free meeting in the beach, or
Right, just a
normal
meetup.
place.
Yep.
Meetup. Yeah,
Yep.
meeting. Sorry for my
No worries.
vocabulary. But yeah, we make a meetup in the beach, and it was really nice because like 120 people arrived to that meetup, and well, that at least is a good sign that everything is growing. And unfortunately, we cannot make as usual every year from 2019 to 2020 our regular conference, flat earth conference. But at least we make this meetup in the beach, and we keep spreading the word. So
English is such a funny language, is it not? So like meet up. If I was just learning the
well,
language,
not so funny. Spanish has their own also strange or yeah.
We call them quirks. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But if you heard from my voice, maybe it's a little more funny than the original native person talking in English. So nothing else. I just put things in order, and of course I receive another strike in my Spanish channel. So I need to wait like 10 more days before start uploading new content.
We call them quirks.
But
Yeah.
at least, but at least I have my backup channel, and I'm still doing and uploading things in my Rokfin channel. So I invite everyone to follow the Rokfin is in English channel. And when we finish this, I'm going to start a live stream in my backup channel for Spanish community, of course, but talking about the new telescope that Argentina buy to unlock the secret of the Big Bang. So I'm gonna get a little fun reading that article.
Excellent. Okay. Well, beautiful. You're glad to hear that. And, just hope you stay safe over there, and, everything goes okay for you guys. We're definitely thinking of you all the time. I'm always watching the news to see what's going on around the world, because obviously we live in a crazy house right now, right?
and I know I'm going to be, if everything continue like this in terms of, at least get a flight without the COVID passport, I'm going to United States just for say hello to you guys, not for any particular conference or things like that. But at least I don't want to lose that I don't know how to say in English, but that type of contact with you, because for me you are like a lineage. I don't like the word family, and I get used to flight the last 3 years from 2017 to 2020 to visit and be part of your daily basis, at least for 3-4 days. And now the last year I didn't go there, and you still keeping doing this meetup and say hello to each other. So I'm gonna try to go there for myself and so start preparing the bedroom, the dinner.
Absolutely, you absolutely have a place to stay anytime you're, and if while you're here, if we can help you get to other parts of the country to visit other people, possibly even to Jeran's, we got lots of air miles that we can probably hook you up with there. So we'd love to have you here, sir, and so we'd just love to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, guys. All right, guys. Well, we're going to call that a show, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And most of all, I hope anybody that may have been on the fence about NASA spacecraft can see clearly that there is no way anything that NASA has ever built, especially that the homeless tweaker shelter, could ever have the capability to withstand the structural pressure differentials that allegedly exist in outer space. And if you just want to keep on believing that NASA can do that, and that they can magically do that out of Narnia, well, then you just go right ahead and do that. Bless your heart. So, all right, guys. So we will see you on Wednesday. Until then, be good to each other. What? Oh, I forgot about Jeran. Holy crap. I'm sorry, Jeran.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Tomorrow I do, or Monday. Yeah, tomorrow I have Cole on my show, the guy from the Snake Diet. I don't want to get his last name wrong again. I got it wrong last time. So I think that's tomorrow. And then, back to the regular schedule. Nothing new. And it was my son's birthday yesterday. So he turned 1. So happy birthday to Maverick. That's
awesome. Yes, awesome. I loved your 3-minute montage to him. That was awesome. Such a cute baby.
Oh, that was cool. The Maverick moments.
Does he still like his little thing that we got him, the swing?
No. Just no more of the swing.
Really?
That was no. It was good up until about maybe 3 months ago. But now it crawls, so now he just kind of goes around.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny. Jeran, our Jeran had this thing called a hop and pop. That after he got out of his swing, he drove this hop and pop all over the house. About made me crazy, because he kept hitting this button on it. It would play this stupid song, and they'd be driving through the house with it all the time. And if he couldn't do it,
where they walk with their feet, and
exactly.
It shows up at the door here every once in a while. I don't have to.
Oh my God.
Kid.
That thing will make you insane if you listen to it long enough. I'm telling you.
It's kid songs that miss a place for him, and then they'll be in bed, and I'll be here at my desk, and I'll just hear it. I'll hear the music. I'm like, it's out there somewhere. I'll go out there. It's not playing anywhere. It's just in my freaking head. I'm going crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, Jeran just turned 18 last month, so he's all grown up. I can't believe it. It's unreal.
Wow.
So
quick. Wait, it's not going to be one of those where Jeran, you're 18 for the next 15 years, right?
He wishes.
You know what I mean? Don't do it, man. Age with grace. Age with grace.
That's right. Okay, guys. All right, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Say again.
Say I look a little old for 30. That's all.
Yeah, just a little. No big deal. I thought you looked good with the sunglasses on, though. So.
My sister came over to the house.
Oh yeah, those sunglasses. Yeah.
My sister's like, "Come on, you're gonna start wearing sunglasses on your stream?" I'm like, "No, I had a terrible sunburn. People knew that who watched Thursday's show. I took my hat off at the end of Thursday's show, and people were just dying laughing because I got absolutely destroyed when I was with Austin, and then I had to wear the glasses because otherwise I look like a raccoon. So
you're trying to be cool like the big kids. Come on.
Terminator 2.
Yes.
That California sun is no joke out there for a few hours, bro.
Did you get it, or you had a girlfriend to put sunscreen on?
Yeah, we both.
Ooh, well.
Yeah, that's an interior motive. There's other.
So Austin, is this official? Is Kai officially your girlfriend, or is that just something in the works?
Yeah.
Well, if things fall apart between you guys, I'm just saying dibs.
We cut the show now, or we are still live?
No, we're still live. I was just getting ready to end it.
Okay.
Because I went and I forgot about Jeran. So bad me.
Just disregard all that stuff I just said.
All right, guys. So that's it for the show. Be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind, because there's truth inside. Peace out, everybody.